Hey, everybody, and welcome to yet another watch along because Dana's going to have two watch alongs every weekend, usually, unless I'm sick or something like that. Which my stomach wasn't feeling too good a little bit earlier, but it's feeling better now. I don't know. Maybe I ate too much of that movie Munchies cake. I don't know. Um, hey, Blissful. Hey, Super Batman Nerd. Hey, Russell. And Russell, you're going to have to tell Candace that as well. Her maiden name is Collier. That's your last name too, Russell. So I'm sure Candace will be glad if you share that with her. Um, yes, everybody's got their shamrocks out, and I hope you got your green on because it is St. Patrick's Day. Um, and I don't currently have green on. I had green on earlier today, but I don't now. So I guess somebody will have to reach through the internet and pinch me, I suppose, because I don't have my green on. However, I do think this is a form of green, and it's got green lettering on it. I don't know if that counts, but people were saying green eyes counts. So I guess if I'm actually touching this, maybe this counts. I don't know. But I did have someone ask me before I started the movie Munchies, they had put a little chat message in there and said they were surprised I wasn't doing a leprechaun theme thing. And I want to be different. And I had already planned the movie Munchies for the prom night cake. So I didn't want to go back and change that. I did drink a alcoholic drink. It was cherry vodka, just a little bit of cherry vodka with green food coloring in it. So I did have a little bit of the St. Patrick's Day thing going on. But I'm going to go ahead and add my good friend Candace. This is going to be the first time ever. She's been in the background when her husband Chris was on, but this is going to be the first time she's actually live on the watch along or the stream with me. And so I'm really excited. I think she's excited. And we're going to be getting into a Hard Day's Night here in just a little bit, which, if you didn't know, that is a Beatles movie. I'm guessing that was technically the first Beatles movie. And Candace can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Um, but let me go ahead and add Candace real quick here. Hey,
Hey
Candace.
everybody. Hey Dana. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Excited.
Well, I kind of thought you were, and I was so glad that you actually got to be able to be on here this time. So hopefully we won't have any snafus or anything like that.
I
But
hope so. I hope everything goes smoothly this time. I know I'd been trying to get on a couple of times before, but just something come up or something happened. There was that one time whenever I was in the background whenever that person was breaking into my car
unfortunately,
with
yeah.
with Chris. But I think this is the perfect movie for me to make my debut on your show.
Well, you are welcome back, as I tell everybody else anytime that you want to come on. It doesn't have to be a watch along. If you see a stream coming up that piques your interest, then you can say, "Hey, Dana, I want to be on." Yeah, I'll send you the link. Um, Now, these strange people that just show up, that I mean, I shouldn't call them strange, but people that I don't know, and I've been burned before, won't go
Yeah.
into deep detail, but someone, this is back when I was putting the link in the main chat, and I said, if you want to come on, click on it. When I see you backstage, I'll add you. Thank goodness I did not add this person because they were doing nefarious things backstage that nobody needed to see.
Well, it's a good thing that you can see them before
Yeah,
adding them. You
yeah.
know,
But I was just like, I just happened to glance down. I was like, oh my.
I can only imagine.
And Jay was live on the stream with me, and I said, "Oh my gosh," and he was like, "Well, what's up?" I said, I had to get rid of that person. They were showing me a little more of themselves than I need to see. So for
Yeah.
you guys and gals that think Jay taking his shirt off or showing a little side ass is bad, Jay would never do something like that. He would never do something like that. Um, and did you know, Candace, that people been sending him private messages telling him to quit doing those shirtless pictures on well, I guess on the
Um,
Deadbit
well,
page.
people just feel bad about themselves, so they want to bring other people down who feel good about themselves. They don't like people feeling good about themselves. So that's how it goes.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So I'm going to get a little housekeeping stuff out of the way, and then we're going to get to this movie because I'm really excited to be watching A Hard Day's Night again because I
Hmm.
haven't watched it for a while.
I'm
I
not either.
I will be. By the way, I'll be watching the Criterion Blu-ray that I've had for a little while. I want it to come out on 4K if it hasn't already. If it has, I must have missed it somewhere along the way. But um, these black and white movies really pop in 4K, like Psycho. That one looks fantastic in
Hmm.
4K. Um, but Candace gave me the link on archive.org or the Internet Archive. I put that in the chat for anybody that doesn't own this or can't find their copy or whatever. I think Candace's might be in storage.
Yeah.
Um, and this is commercial free. I don't think there's any commercials in that version, so you should be able to keep up fairly well. We usually try to get synced up. Well, and I'll just say, Hard Day's Night is a movie that kind of just jumps right into the movie. You hear that
Yeah.
guitar chord, and then you see the Beatles running.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be much leeway to. It's not going to say so and so presents or anything else. It's just going to go darn if you're listening to the music and go into it.
Now, Diane, this archive.org
Mhm.
version, it starts at a Walter, what does that say? Shinson? I can't say that.
Oh, really?
Production.
So
Hmm.
it's a little bit different than my Criterion. My
Yeah.
Criterion just starts with the guitar chord.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah,
Just-
so a little bit of allow everybody to get pretty well synced up. Yeah, mine goes from a black screen to that.
to
Darn.
just the beginning. Okay. Let me kind of let it go a little bit here. That way that I can get right where you're at because it
I'm gonna.
stayed
I'm
right
gonna.
here. Right here's where yours
All
starts. And then,
right. I'm gonna read some of the stuff that people were putting in the chat here. Blair's in here. Batman says he doesn't got green on. Well, that's okay. That is okay. You don't have to have green on. I also have a Mountain Dew that's green as well. So, Kathy's in here. Hey, Kathy. Um, let's see. Blissful says, "Yay! Hi, Candace." Now we just need to
hey,
get we need to get Blissful on here. Uh, let's see. Batman says, "I gotta come clean with some research that I did." Well, you come clean all you want to. Blair says the internet is the best thing and the worst thing. Yeah, I agree with that. Batman says last year I told you that the kid from Nightmare 5 was also Alan from Return to Sleepaway Camp. Well, not true. They was two different actors. Well, that's okay. Everybody's wrong at least a portion of the time, including me. So that's okay. Blair wants to know what happened to the kid from Halloween 6. I have no idea. I'll be honest, I have no idea. Candace, do you know what happened to the kid from Halloween 6?
I'm not the one to ask about that.
Halloween 6 wasn't my favorite Halloween movie either. So, um, but anyway, what have I got coming up? What's in the works? So, Monday will be another Stephen's Kingdom. Going to be talking about three more Stephen King film adaptations. I can probably tell everybody what those are going to be because everybody usually always wants to know what I'm going to be covering. So let's see here. Um, we're going to be covering The Shawshank Redemption, Dolores Claiborne, and The Mangler. So that's actually going to be a Robert Englund movie too, as
Mm.
well. So I'm going to be covering The Mangler twice. Um, And also Tuesday will be another Everybody Wants England. And what am I going to? I'm only going to be talking about two because I'm going to be talking about the Final Battle, which is another mini series type. And then guess what, guys and gals? You've all been waiting for it. We're getting into Nightmare on Elm Street. So, for all you Freddy fans out there that have been eagerly awaiting me to get to, they're probably thinking, geez, Louise, Diane, get out of this weird stuff that I haven't seen. But there's been some really cool ones along the way, too. So, the Final Battle from 84 and also A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. And so, what will be the watch alongs for the end of the week? Um, Silence of the Lambs will be Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Grace of My Heart, which is one of my favorite music related movies, on Sunday. Now, Sunday, there will not be a movie Munchies. Actually, the next two Sundays, there will be no movie Munchies because this coming Sunday, I will be at Horror Hound Weekend, and I suspect I'll either be at the convention or out on the road and won't be able to do a movie Munchies. Sunday is Easter Sunday, and I'm going to be spending time with my family that day, which I know y'all all understand, but I like to, explain why I'm not doing a certain thing on a certain day when people get used to them. I've been working on designs for the Booga Booga Bears for Jay and Kathy. Jay's design is finished. I just got to get it on the shirt. Kathy's design is now finished too, and she likes it because
Yeah.
I showed her the Freddy glove, and it says, "Whatever you do, don't fall asleep."
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that a lot.
you saw the design too,
Yeah,
did
yeah, I've
you?
seen
Okay.
it. Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
I just came up with that. Sometimes late at night, I come up with,
That's the best
things
time
that
to
will
think
work.
of stuff. You're like me. We're two peas in a pod when it comes to that, Dana. We're night owls.
Yeah, Steve keeps telling me, Dana, you need to go to sleep. You need to go to sleep. Um, Russell says the film I'm watching has Spanish subtitles, and he also says he loves the Help film. I love Help
Oh,
as well.
yeah. That's I love A Hard Day's Night, but I don't know. I can't really tell you which one I like better. I love Help.
Well, I think I have a fondness for Help too because there's a part in A Hard Day's Night which is kind of Ringo, the lonely guy
Yeah.
walking along the road and meets up with this kid that rows a tire at him,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's fun, but in Help, they're trying to get Ringo's
Yeah.
ring. These
Yeah.
bad guys are like, we'll kill them if we have to.
He's got
We gotta get
two groups of people or like a cult, and then he's got like this mad scientist, which is
yeah,
played by the guy that plays the TV producer in A Hard Day's Night.
yeah.
What is his name? Victor Spinetti or something like that's his name.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Russell also says, "Hey Dana and Candace, funny. Our last name is Collier." Yeah,
Oh, another Collier. Well,
yeah,
that's around where I'm from. That's a name that you really don't hear. My family, it was just them, and then we'd have somebody trickle in that would be a Collier, but it would be from a different family from somewhere off from where we're from.
it's like Benningfield. Steve
Yeah.
was the only in his family were the only Benningfields I ever heard of
Mhm.
till Steve and I started dating and then got engaged, and
Yeah.
then somebody showed up in Hancock County where I'm from that had their last name was Benningfield. They were getting
Yeah.
a library card, and I was like, that's my fiance's last name. I'm gonna be a Benningfield soon,
Yeah.
but,
See, my dad, he's from Ohio. So,
right.
he came here we had family here, but, that part, that Collier part comes from up north. So I guess that's the reason why.
So, I'm gonna allow everybody time to get synced up with whatever copy you're watching, if you're gonna be watching along with me and Candace tonight. I apologize that we cannot play the music because the music is copyrighted, unfortunately, and we would not I don't think we'd get away with it. So,
And it's gonna be hard because even though there's no volume or anything like that, I know everything about it.
mhm,
And, it's my favorite, album of all time. It has my favorite song of all time, I Should Have Known Better.
yeah.
Um, and this movie, I've literally watched it 1,000 times as a child, so, um, I'm really excited. So it's gonna be hard not to want to sing and to
Well,
quote stuff.
I think you can get away with quoting or singing or humming
Yeah.
along, but if we actually play the
Oh,
soundtrack, that's
yeah.
where we're gonna get a strike somewhere,
Well,
or
Dana,
not
you
a
don't wanna
strike.
hear me singing, you'll run everybody off from here, so
Candace, I've heard you sing before. Didn't you sing on that video that you did where you were was it a Neil Diamond song you were doing and you had the ukulele or whatever?
yeah.
I
I've made
like
few
that. I didn't think you were singing bad.
well, thank you. I'm glad that somebody thinks so.
Now, nobody needs to hear me sing ever. They don't need to see me dance. They don't need to hear me sing. Um,
Me, I've never been able to dance even in my younger years, so that's something I gave up on a long time ago.
that's right, Batman. TJ and Jay did have a sing along when we did Rocky Horror Picture Show. So yeah, and they got away with that. I didn't get any copyright claims because they were, singing along. So, and of course, if you're watching this at home in the privacy of your own home, you can blast that soundtrack all you want, other than if you have other people in the house and they say, turn that down. You know, like if I was blasting something like that, Steve would probably send me messages on my phone because he's like, can you turn that down a little bit? Um, but it's usually my logo intro with the skull and it says Deadites on deck and stuff like that. Usually that's what's too loud for him. So, um, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started if Candace is ready.
I'm ready. I've got it
Um,
on the black screen right before the guitar sounds.
And Russell is actually using one of the links that there is a link on YouTube. I'll tell you that in case for some reason you can't use archive.org. But the person has slowed it down to prevent the copyright stuff. So they tell you if you put it at 2 times the speed, it will play at the right speed. And I checked it out and I was like, oh, yeah, it does play at the right speed. So that was how they got around putting it on there was to play it at half speed. So if you don't want to hear the Beatles go, speed it up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do the countdown. And again, on mine, I'm on the black screen right before the guitar chord. And so we'll do the 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get started. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. And there the Beatles are running. But I always found this funny. You can tell they're not really running that fast. I'm sure they had to run away from girls a lot faster than that in real life.
Oh, yeah. I just love how this whole movie inspired the Monkees TV show with their
Mm.
romps. If you're familiar with the Monkees, how they have, like, um, portions of the show, when they start playing music and stuff, they have it called the Monkees Romp, where it's kinda sped up and they're running all around the place and stuff, so, um, I love how this movie inspired that. The Beatles in general.
And I also love this. I guess he's a character actor, and I'm forgetting his name, that plays Paul's grandfather on here.
Oh,
I
Brimble.
love that guy.
Wilford Brimble? Not is it Wilford Brimble? Is
I
that his
might be
name?
right.
Wilford Bramble. Wilford Bramble. He, plays, Paul's clean grandfather.
It's very clean.
Very
Okay.
clean.
And I'll tell you, I as a musician and a singer, my people will probably say, "Well, why isn't Paul McCartney your favorite?" But John Lennon was always my favorite. And there's
Mine too.
Paul's clean grandfather right
Yeah.
there. But I always liked John Lennon musically,
Mhm.
and for other reasons too. Um, and Paul second, but I like George and
I love
Ringo
George.
different. I love George's spiritual side of
Yeah.
him, and Ringo is just like, I just want to grab a hold and hug that guy.
Yeah.
Still yet, even though he's older, but he just looks like a little puppy
He
dog, and
does.
I'm sure Ringo would be thrilled to know that I think he's a puppy dog. But
I
how
always
could
tell
you not love him?
I know, I always tell people I fell in love with the Beatles when I was 7 years old. So this was the '90s, and I knew nobody else who loved the Beatles. I was just a little kid and had discovered them somehow, I don't know. But Ringo was my first crush.
Mm.
And then I fell in love with John, and it was just over with there. I
Yeah,
remember.
people have said a lot of bad things about John Lennon, and John Lennon made some mistakes.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
for instance, the way he handled getting out of the relationship with his first wife, Cynthia,
Cynthia, yeah.
was not good.
No.
Bringing Yoko into the picture while Cynthia was away, and Cynthia coming in on the, and I've heard this story numerous times. Cynthia coming in to find Yoko wearing her robe, and her and John sitting there having breakfast, and they just look up like it's just
Yeah.
the most normal thing in the world. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
What a shock for her
Yeah.
to come in there. But I do, on the other side of that coin, I feel like Yoko was really meant to be with John.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just
Truly.
handled it the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely. And he definitely wasn't the father that he should have been to Julian as well. But everybody has their demons, and that doesn't take away from the fact that he was just an incredible artist.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but and the reason why I love these films so much is because it just shows how big of a goofball John was, and I just love that, and I think that's why I really fell in love with him.
I think down deep, John Lennon had a good heart.
Yeah, he
Um,
just had like I said, his demons.
I've talked about my uncle, my dad's brother, who I love very much. Speaking of making bad romance choices, he and my aunt, who was my mom's sister. So my dad's brother and my mom's sister got married. So if they had had kids, I would have had double cousins. But
Yeah.
they were married for about 14 years. And my uncle Scotty, who I love dearly, and I still love dearly, he's, I'll say it on here. Probably nobody's going to see it. He's my favorite uncle of all
Mhm.
my uncles. I love all my uncles, but I was always closest to Scotty. But Scotty, somewhere along the way, fell out of love with my Aunt Sandy and started an affair. And so that just goes to show you that the best people in the world can make a mistake and
Yeah,
make
definitely.
mistakes. I swat.
I love what John does. I don't know if he's already done it or not, but I think it was Shake gave him like a pop. He sticks it up to his
Oh,
nose,
yeah.
and that.
I'm not sure if
Always,
he's did that or not. Yeah, probably has because I see he's got some coke in his hand
I
there.
always thought that was a cheeky little thing to put in to the movie.
And leave it to John to try. I'm just gonna
Oh
put
yeah,
this in here.
and this guy's a real stick in the mud. That's
Oh
coming
yeah,
in.
but I love what they do to this.
Yeah. Oh,
It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Magic Christian or not.
yeah, long time. I mean, I was young when I seen it. Yeah, a long time ago.
That scene where they're on the train, and of course it has Ringo in it and Peter
Yeah.
Sellers, which is a fantastic pairing. But when the guy goes back through the wall of the train and there's all this craziness going on, I think there's maybe even some breasts and stuff. But Badfinger song is playing, and which I love
I
Badfinger.
love Badfinger, yeah. They had a tragic history, Dana,
They did. They
for
most
such an incredible band. Me and my brother talk about that all the time, how they just like it's like really unbelievable. If anybody's familiar with Badfinger, just what their history is just crazy, you know. And they kind of reminded you of the Beatles, really. I mean, kind of had that sound a little. Didn't they
Yeah.
record an Apple?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I think they were probably maybe the first band that Apple signed
I
with.
think you're right, Dana. I do.
Um, well, Russell's familiar with Magic Christian. He says
Mm.
Ringo was great in the Magic Christian with Peter Sellers. They were both great. I just love that movie. I had Steve watch it with me one time. He said, I never want to watch that movie again.
I'll tell you a doozy that Ringo's in. And I rented this back whenever I probably was about 11 or 12, I
Is it
guess.
Candy?
No, it's called Caveman. It's got, I think
Oh,
Dennis Quaid's
Caveman,
in it.
yeah. And his wife, or what? I don't know if they were married then, or maybe soon to be married. But Barbara Bach is in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not a good
crazy.
movie. It's really wild. It's really wild. I love when they end up on the outside of this train.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Mister, can we have our mom?
And I know this just drove the girls wild. You know it did.
Oh my gosh,
'Cause
yeah.
it did
And then,
me as a kid. I felt like those girls back in the '60s.
mhm.
Really, I'd sit and watch it and just.
My mom, I don't know. I don't want to say she was concerned, but I got really, really into the Beatles when the Beatles anthology came out because I didn't know. I knew who the Beatles were. I knew some of
Mm,
their songs, but I didn't know their story.
mm.
And when that came out, I was just like fascinated.
Well, I always had I was always shy and didn't have many friends, so the Beatles kinda became my world. I would
Mhm,
sit literally watch this and A Hard Day or, Help every single day. I mean,
mhm,
I loved all this other music, but they became my center. They became more than a band to me.
mhm.
And no matter what how my musical taste went, the Beatles always remained my favorite. So they're very special.
Yeah, definitely. My mom said, well, they were okay. But my Aunt Pam, her sister, was the one that was really into them, collected the Beetle
Yeah.
cards. And I said, whatever happened to Aunt Pam's Beetle cards? Because I didn't want to sell them. I wanted the things.
Yeah.
Mom said, oh, they ended up in the attic somewhere and they probably got thrown away. And I just was like, oh my God.
Now here we have a young, I guess,
Oh,
19-year-old Patty Boyd.
Boyd, yes.
Now this is before George and her ever they hadn't been with each other. This is where he met her from.
Now, if you notice, I can tell that George is taken with her, and I think
Yeah.
she's taken with him because there are scenes where
Oh
she's
yeah.
right there with them,
And she's kind of,
and
and you
they're
can
looking
tell.
at each other.
Yes, and you can tell that they're because how these girls would look at the Beatles and they kind of like bite their fingers and bite their lips. Whenever they're in the train card where they're doing the cars where they're playing my favorite song of all time, I
Mhm.
should have known better. You see them kind of look in and they're like biting their lips, and you can tell it's real.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere a long time ago, I think, pretty sure I remember reading where she said that they kind of got close during the making of this, and then just one day, like at dinner or something, while they were filming this, he asked her to marry him,
That's
and she
quick turnaround right there.
and I think she declined, and he said, "Well, can I at least take you out or something?"
Oh, this this woman is like coming on to Ringo, and he's like,
Yeah, they're trying to find old Paul's grandfather, and
because Paul's like, "If you've lost him, I'll cripple you."
yeah,
I can't do it like Paul McCartney, but,
and they find him, and I just love what he says. Congratulate me, boys.
I'm engaged.
I'm engaged.
Oh, I bet these girls did,
Oh
like,
my
because
god.
John Lennon is right
Oh my god.
there.
I felt just like that. And just sitting here watching this after all these years because I've really not watched it in forever. I can just feel those feelings that I used to feel as a young girl, I guess, because they really had that effect on people.
Yes. And
That guy, he's so
and Paul's
crazy.
like, "Oh, no, you're not. Not this one."
Here it is. Here's where the
Mhm. Well, they had to lock his grandfather up 'cause they can't trust him.
even if you don't like the Beatles, because Chris isn't a huge Beatles fan, you know. There's a few songs that he likes by 'em, but he's not a big Beatles fan, and I know I wear him out with the Beatles. But even he says, the Beatles are good actors.
Mhm.
Because we've sit and watched. I remember when we first started dating, I made him sit down and watch A Hard Day's Night and Help, and even he not being a big fan, he still enjoyed the films.
I love that dog too. I'm gonna play cards. I always liked Ringo's rings
I
too.
did too, and
They were always so unique.
and I love how they made Help. They just revolved, that whole film around that,
Mhm.
and even if you think about it, A Hard Day's Night isn't about Ringo, but he kind of has like a side story with Ringo too. They're picking on him. Paul's grandfather, keeps on picking on his nose and just
Yeah,
getting, stealing his letters and doing stuff he's not supposed to do, and kind of makes him start feeling bad about himself, I guess.
and lucky Patty Boyd got to be right in there with them.
Oh my goodness.
She was probably the only one that could behave enough that they could put her in.
Probably, yeah. I think she was like 18 or 19 at the time. Well, could have been younger. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
she was really young.
Which George, because being the youngest Beatle, was kind of young. He wasn't in his teens, but early 20s. I do know during this. Oh, I just absolutely love, love, love this segment of this film because just the song means so much to me. So my son, whenever he was born, and I've had a um, tradition with him where I would sing a Beatles medley, and I still to this day, I still sometimes find myself singing it to him, and he's not too old where he's like, "Mom, don't do that." He's like, "Oh." But it's uh, I should have known better, and all my loving,
Mhm.
I'll sing them to him, and he said, "Oh, Mom, those were our song when I was little." I said, "Yeah." He's more into the heavy metal, so he likes the
Yeah,
Beatles, but
yeah.
he's into the Judas Priest, the Metallica, which I am too, and I'm very proud of. I'm gonna brag on
Which,
him.
y'all got he's got tickets to Judas Priest, right?
Oh yeah, he's really
I think
elated about
that's
that.
cool. I did, speaking of going to concerts, and the only Beatle I've ever seen, or ex-Beatle, I've seen in concert is Paul
Me
McCartney, but
too.
he put on one heck of a
Oh
show
my goodness,
when I saw
Dana. I don't know. I'm sure you felt the same. It was like a
him.
dream, a pure dream. I'm like, I
Mhm.
can't believe I'm sitting here seeing Paul McCartney.
I couldn't either. Steve was like, "Eh," until they played "Live and Let Die," and they had
Oh
the little fireworks things and stuff.
yeah.
Then Steve perked up because
Oh
he
yeah.
loves James Bond movies. Just
And
that's it.
I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan, so I think Guns N' Roses really took that song and made it special. I mean, I love the Wings version, and I think Linda wrote that, right, or helped write it. Live
She
and Let Die.
may have. I
I
can't.
could be wrong, but I love Guns N' Roses version of that song as well.
Blissful says John and Yoko's farm is really close to where she lives,
Really?
which
Well,
that's awesome.
that is awesome. I've still never made it up to New York to visit any of the sites. I would love to. I mean, that's a dream. I've been to New York, the state,
Uh-huh.
for Jamestown, New York, up there where Lucy, her hometown, Lucille Ball, but never to New York to where the city to see any of that.
Yeah, I'd love to see the
The
Dakota.
Dakota, yeah.
I
It would be
wanna
bittersweet, but,
Yeah, I wanna see strawberry fields in Central
oh,
Park.
definitely.
I don't wanna go
Definitely.
after dark because they say never go in Central Park after dark, but
Yeah, you'll end up like Kevin on Home
oh
Alone.
oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but it's probably when all the drug addicts and criminals
Yeah.
and stuff like that come out.
Well, nighttime can bring anything anywhere.
I ate already, but those sandwiches look good.
Well, I got dinner on the stove right now, so here, if my little alarm goes off and I have to remove myself,
Mhm.
we got a, St. Patrick's Day feast on the stove.
Oh, boy.
I started a little late, so we had stuff we had to do, so unfortunately, I had to start it a little late. Got some corned beef and cabbage, and that was that was
Patricia,
always
yeah, he can't help having a hideous great hooter.
He said his tiny little head trembling under the weight of it all or something like that, he said. Oh, I can just picture,
And poor Ringo, no fan mail for him. Well, maybe one, but I bet you in real life Ringo
no,
got
here it
a
comes,
lot.
that's all his.
Mhm.
All those letters are his.
Yeah,
It makes you believe he don't have any, but then he's got more than anybody. And they actually used his real name here, Richard Starkey.
yeah,
There's old grandpa back there scheming scheming something.
yeah. I
I thought
like
that
how
they
Paul says he's a king mixer.
Yeah, King Mixer. I think they picked the perfect guy to play Paul's grandfather too. He's just so funny. I don't
And I love how these looks that they all give, like, it's like they're breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Paul just did it just a second ago. It's like he's looking at the audience and saying, "Can you believe this?"
Mhm. And to be their first film too. I love John here.
Yeah, he's all John is always scheming for him to get out and do something
Yeah.
fun.
And there's no denying Paul McCartney was just beautiful as well. My mom loved Paul McCartney. Loves him, and he was a beautiful person.
You know, I maybe shouldn't have, and I could have gotten a lot of trouble doing this, but there there was a woman, Francie Schwartz. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Candace, or not, but she was, I call her a little more than a groupie, but she had a relationship with Paul McCartney for a very, very short time. And not like, the relationship he had with Jane Asher or anything
Yeah.
like that went on for a long time. This was like a, 1 or 2 night stand
Yeah.
type thing. But this woman acted like she was just something special. And they interviewed her on something to do with the Beatles, and Paul doesn't even talk about her. I mean, he doesn't. I've never heard him say anything about her, but she was talking like she was just the bee's knees, and you know, she should have been with Paul, and yada yada yada. But she was one of those kiss and tell kind of people that she wanted to tell everything that was going on behind the scenes, and I just didn't think it was appropriate. And what I meant by I could have gotten in trouble is they had put her address where you could write to her in a Beatles fanzine that I
Hmm.
was getting at the time. And I just, I kind of let loose on her a little bit. I didn't threaten her
Yeah.
or cuss her out or anything like that. I just said, that's kind of sleazy what you're doing. And
Yeah.
he wrote back and told me never to write to her again. That's what I mean. I could have, like, gotten in real trouble, but I was young and, made mistakes. Oh, evidently Chris is in here, Candace.
Yeah. He must be watching.
I love the album All Things Must Pass by
Oh,
George
yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite George Harrison, album.
So here's Paul's grandfather getting in trouble again. He's went to the casino.
So the first time I ever seen A Hard Day's Night, probably was around 10 years old, I guess. I'd been a fan, like I said, since I was 7, so, I can't remember if it was AMC. Did AMC used to not have commercials back in the 90s?
It seems like it, yeah, that they didn't.
If it wasn't AMC, it was TCM, Turner Classic Movies. But for some reason, I'm remembering it as ACM, but or you know, so I seen that a special was going to come on with a Help and a Hard Day's Night, and whenever a Hard Day's Night come on, it was hosted by Phil Collins, I
Oh
think.
yeah. Yeah.
And, I recorded it, from the TV on a VHS, and that's how I got my copy of A Hard Day's Night and, Help. Well, and that's when I learned that, Phil Collins was actually in the, concert portion
Mhm.
of A Hard Day's Night, but they had cut him out, and it had showed, like they had went back and found, like, the footage of him out in the audience. He was, like,
Yeah.
13 or 14 years old.
Mhm.
So, I always thought that was so neat that Phil Collins was there and witnessing that.
Yeah, I
So
think that's awesome. As a young boy,
mhm.
he was there. Blissful, I agree that Patty Boyd's look is still it's still a very influential style.
Yeah, yeah. She's a beautiful woman.
Paul's grandfather stole this guy's
Yeah,
clothes.
and they find him in the closet and poor guy.
Ringo goes to put his jacket away, and there's a man in the cupboard. I love that the English guys call it a cupboard of a closet.
That's where I learned a lot of my, like the British, how they talk about that's how I learned a lot of things that, I know today is from watching the Beatles and
Mhm.
and just British film and in general. I just loved it, Oh,
Um,
Shake.
yeah. Did I ever tell you, Candace, that I had a guy from England or from the UK rather come to visit me one time?
No, I don't think
I
so.
met him through the internet. Nothing ever came of it. Like
Yeah.
we went out to eat and stuff like that, and then he took me home. But there wasn't any like romantic stuff going on. I kind of wish that there could be, but there wasn't. Just wasn't meant to be. But his name was Andy, and he came over from the UK, and he was very, very nice and polite and gentlemanly and all that. But he had a blister on his foot when he finally got to my house, and he said, "Do you have any plaster?" And my mom could not figure out, what he wanted. I said, "Oh, you want a Band-Aid?" And he's like, "Yes, yes." And and so mom was like, "Oh yeah, we got Band-Aids," and she went and got him a Band-Aid. But it was a real eye opener. Uh, some of the things were the same, but some of
Yeah.
them were not.
I've always had a love for the British accent.
Yep, me too. That's why I could listen to Darren Burrows. I could listen to him all day long. And he's Welsh. I mean, he's in
Yeah.
the UK, but he's Welsh.
I love this part with John. He's just crazy.
He's got his hat.
Have you ever seen How I Won the War with John?
Yes, it's been a long while, but yeah, I have seen it.
And just some of this stuff is so silly, like how Shake's wanting George to show him how to shake.
Yeah, you're not practicing on me.
I don't blame him.
Mm-mm. I don't even have to have the sound on. I'm just like everything's
I know every word.
on. I like this too. So he's actually putting a foam beard on him, and he's like, that just makes me want to go play in the bathtub. Watch
Yeah.
it.
You know,
Put your tongue away. It looks all disgusting, pink and naked.
help would be a great one to do too, Dana. If you
Yeah, I'm
ever
gonna have to
decided
work that in at
that
some.
one's got some great scenes in it, like the part where Paul and the juicy fruit wrapper. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah. All right, Lennon, let's have you.
Oh, Norm, he's like the straight laced one.
Yeah,
I think that guy's real name is Norman
I
in
think
real
it
life.
is too. Yeah. This is funny though. He can't find John, his hat, the little toys are in there. And there he comes in there. What are you messing about with that boat for?
Oh, I love this part. That tent and that old man.
Mm.
I love how they just had to find ways to get through these crowds of girls. That old man just sitting there, like, what happened?
He's like, "What? I was just having my coffee here or tea or whatever he's having." And they were, when they would do press conferences, when the Beatles would do them, they were pretty much like this.
Yeah.
Instead of letting them ask the same old boring questions that they've been asked 1,000 times, they would come up with unique answers to
Oh,
them.
yeah. And there's a scene here, and I know Chris, if he's still watching, he's going to say, "Oh no, she's going to quote that again," because he gets tired of me quoting it. Because he apparently I quote it all the time, which I don't.
This
I
is a
don't.
quotable movie, though.
Yeah. They asked John how he found America. He said,
Uh,
"Turn left at Greenland."
right. And that lady's not letting anybody take any hors d'oeuvres there.
And that's
She's
just
just
a
going
crazy
up and
thing.
down with the plate.
That's just crazy little things, that you find in these films like this.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever watched The Monkey's Head, but that's a really, really out there film.
I always wanted to see it, but I have not.
That's out there. Really out there.
All those pictures of George.
Right here.
Yep. Then he laughs at himself.
Mamaka. Oh, I love this. Have you have any hobbies? And I just can tell you what he's writing on there. By the look at her face.
There's no telling what John Lennon really wrote on there.
No. I'm sure they couldn't have showed it on screen without getting a
He calls his
Arthur.
hairstyle Arthur. Well, it just goes to show you how ridiculous press people are.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of what they're alluding to, just that had to be just exhausting to be a Beatle or just anybody in their crew or anything. I mean, just because the whole world was after them,
At all times,
at
like
all times.
they didn't even have any privacy, like in
Mm.
hotel rooms or anything.
That just shows you how success can be an amazing thing, but it also can be it can take away something, your privacy, and
Mhm.
especially if you're somebody like the Beatles. Um, Probably never have privacy again unless they have to have some kind of maximum security place. Because even people breaking into their homes and
Yeah.
What happened to George, he got stabbed or
Oh,
something. He
yeah, that
got, that's just craziness.
well, and there's the Golden Slumber song. She came in through the bathroom
Yeah,
window. You
yeah,
know that had to come from an experience.
exactly.
Which Golden Slumbers for a short song, I absolutely
Yeah,
love
I do
that
too.
song.
I always listen to it, like in the way that it's, Golden Slumbers, and then it goes into
Mhm.
all the other songs, which Abbey Road is one of the greatest albums of all time, I think, and just the
Oh
way
my
that it
god.
was put together and stuff.
And being as it was pretty much the Beatles' last album together, that's an amazing album to end a career on.
It just, especially the latter part of the album, and just how it just kind of goes into one song right after another.
Yeah, I guess it's a musical collage, I guess you
Yeah,
could call it.
yeah. Another favorite song of mine, "If I Fell." It's a beautiful song. This whole album, I love every song on it.
And I probably shouldn't be, but I am attracted to drummers more than I am any other musician. I loved Keith Moon too, the Who.
Oh yeah,
I
and
mean, he was wild, but I loved Keith Moon.
which I know Keith Moon kind of, he doesn't really favor Ringo, but I guess you could see a favor there. But have you seen Ringo's son? He looks like Keith Moon.
I think I have, and I know what you're talking about there.
I always thought that was so strange because it was Ringo's son, but to me he looked like Keith Moon.
Russell says he's an ex-drummer. Well, if I seen you play, I'd probably be crazy over that, Russell. I'm sure I
Here's where
would.
George falls into the amp. I've always noticed that part.
It's the kind of
I had watched that film for I don't know how many times, and just one day I was just sitting there watching it, and I said, "He falls into that amp." Like, they didn't take it out either.
mm-mm.
John, he's so dreamy. I can't. I know people probably don't want to sit and hear me gush over John Lennon, but just
Hey,
right.
I've gushed over John Lennon, so I certainly don't care.
I mean, just especially in this little segment here, it's just gorgeous.
I probably drove my parents crazy there for a while when I would just I'd be getting like vinyl in, John Lennon vinyl and stuff like that. And mom would be like, "Is that another one?" Did you? And I still have the Two Virgins album that him and
Yeah.
Yoko did together for a variety of reasons,
Hmm.
but I like how brave they were to be completely naked on the front and back of the
Exactly.
album.
Yeah. I remember reading something where Yoko says, um, she wasn't boasting about, "Hey, look at us, we look fantastic." She's like, "Here we are, two ugly people on," which I'm not saying they were ugly. I don't think they were,
Mhm.
but
No.
at least she wasn't like sitting there, "Hey, look at us, we're the greatest things since sliced bread."
But there were I don't know who exactly. I don't know if it was press people or what, but there were some people that said, "Look at her. She looks like a milk cow with her breast hanging there and stuff like that." And John was really upset about that, and he was like, "Listen, people, she had had a miscarriage not very long before
Yeah.
that." Yeah, so he was really, really upset.
So is this where we finally met that Victor Spinetti, the producer, the one
Yeah.
that's in? Now he plays is it Foot? Is that it, Professor Foot in Help? And then he has the guy,
Right, yeah.
I forget the other guy, the guy that is his little henchman or whatever. But the guy that's his henchman in Help, plays Veruca Salt's dad in Willy
Oh,
Wonka. Yeah, that's the
okay.
guy.
Blissful, I agree. Julian Lennon is stunning inside and out.
Yeah, definitely.
I absolutely love Julian's music
I
too.
do too.
I, God bless Sean. I can't say the same for Sean's stuff
No.
just because Sean's music's just not my cup of tea. But Julian,
Yeah, I love
yeah,
Julian. Uh, I used to listen to one of his albums all the time. It had a song on it called Saltwater, and I really love that song.
I remember hearing "Too Late for Goodbyes"
Yeah, I
before
love
I
that
even
one.
know who Julian was.
Yeah.
I was like, I love that song.
And he doesn't look as much like his dad as
Not
Sean does.
nowadays, yeah,
He looks more like his mother, looks more like Cynthia,
yeah.
but he sounds more
His
like his dad
Oh my
than
gosh,
Sean
it's
does.
haunting. It's
Yeah.
haunting how much he sounds like John.
There's times whenever you're listening to him singing, you're like, "Oh my gosh," I mean, he's just 100% John, which I don't really know if he would want to. I think he's kinda made peace with the
I
stuff
think
that's
so
happened,
too.
with his dad and stuff, which is a good thing.
I always like this scene too, where they're
Yeah.
running around. "Can't Buy Me Love" is playing, and
"Oh, hi, TJ. Yeah, you finally see my old
hey,
mug on
TJ.
here." And, I've always liked, "Can't Buy Me Love," but it
Mhm,
never was one of my favorite Beatles songs.
mhm.
I don't know why. I think it was one that I heard more than any other, and it
Right.
just kinda got how if you listen to Kiss,
Get burned
Walking
out.
All Night, you get tired of it, or listen to AC/DC, Back in Black, you get tired of hearing that stuff. Just one moment, Dana.
Okay. Um, I'll keep the party going here for a little bit till Candace gets back, so see what y'all are saying in the chat here. Well, maybe. Oh,
Sorry, my alarm went off.
oh, that's okay. At
Yeah.
first, I thought it was mine because I'm so used to my devices making that sound. I was like, "Did we turn the timer on?" And I just
I'm in my kitchen, I have a little desk and stuff in here right now.
I love your hutch back there,
Oh,
Candace,
thank
by the way.
you,
That's
thank
so
you,
pretty.
yeah. I need to get some nice plates and stuff. You can see my styrofoam plates in there right now, so I need to get some good china to go in there.
Oh, I just noticed that there's John Lennon's book back there.
Yeah, yeah, right back in the back. I think it's either that book or another one that you can see and help too. Like how John's bed is down in the
Like
floor.
in the floor, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either that book or another one that you can see.
Uh, Batman likes your Goosebumps shirt, Candace.
Oh, thank you. I was wanting to wear my Beatles one today, but I couldn't find it. It must be dirty. So I love this part.
Yeah, she's like, he says, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Oh, you're him." "Oh, no, I'm not."
And then whenever she finally agrees that it's not him, and she don't, he gets mad.
Yeah. Doesn't he say she looks more like him than I do?
Yeah, going up the stairs, he says that.
Yeah, that's what you get the feeling that she wanted something bad to be said about her and John Lennon.
Yeah.
She looks more like him than I do.
This part always, I don't know how you feel about it, but this part always touched me for some reason. I don't know. I know it's just a scene to get George more, into a
Mhm.
story, but I don't know. This is one part that kind of made me, I don't know. It just made George come off as mean. Did you think so? He's
Yeah, and I
talking about the
remember
model.
yeah, yeah,
He talks about, like, they just sit around making fun of this person and stuff. I was like, "Well, sounds like George is a bully."
yeah, and
I think they could have done something better
George
than that.
wasn't like that at all, and to do that.
No.
Yeah, I always thought this was out completely out of character.
Yeah. Which at the time it could have been making a statement.
Could have been, yeah.
Sure, it was, I think, a lot of socialites and stuff was around back then, and it kinda just focused on, who was modeling and stuff, and maybe it was cramping somebody's style or something. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what I don't know.
Of course, too, they're kinda acting like George is dumb too.
They are, yeah.
Rewrite your lines, and I bet they really did feel like that at times, all of them, because people will rewrite what you say or take
Yeah.
things out of context or
Exactly, yeah.
dead grotty. I wouldn't be caught dead in those.
I wonder if grotty means the same thing as what we say grody. I always
Yeah,
thought,
I'm wondering.
"Oh, that's grody."
Sorry if y'all hear sounds in the background, like people are putting things on Facebook and stuff like that. One thing I don't want to be is right wing. Not to get political on here or anything, guys. You mean that posh bird that gets everything wrong? It also, I think it too says things about how Hollywood, how that whole setup, and even in England, how the setup there is so false and
Yeah,
superficial and stuff like that. I think that's probably what it's trying to allude to.
maybe, yeah. Like I said, back then, it definitely probably meant, today's context may be a little bit different. Maybe that's why I took it more wrong. I love this part here. This is so funny. Getting in even more trouble.
Yeah.
Did they ever explain why? I can't remember. Did they ever explain why he's with them? Is it to keep him out of trouble?
I think so. I think,
I
Paul's
can't
just supposed
remember.
to be watching over him a little bit because
Trying to
he's almost like a small child. He just
exactly.
keeps getting in trouble.
He's trying to get all these, trying to
He's got those pictures signed.
he's trying to put false, autographs on them to try
Yeah,
to
I think so. He got them to sign their names and then he's trying to copy them.
yeah. There's Chris making a debut
Hmm.
appearance. Well, no, he's already been on your show, so it's not a debut.
That sweater that dude's got on bothers me than him coming up out of the basement. Yeah, but that sweater looks entirely too itchy. It makes me itch thinking about it.
The one that the producers got on?
Yeah,
Don't John say, "Yeah, I bet his wife knitted it for him," or something
yeah.
like that?
I was waving at Chris back there.
Oh. No, all the instrumental work in this film is by George Martin's orchestra. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
I always like that part too.
And now they're picking at poor Ringo, calling him a teacher's pet. I now declare this bridge open. He cuts the tape measure. As much as I like Elvis as a singer, Elvis was not a good actor. He had nothing on the Beatles.
No, exactly, exactly. I do agree, Dana. I love Elvis, but
Mhm. I love his music, and
mhm.
I bet his wife doesn't know about her, and I bet he hasn't even got a wife. Oh,
Oh, I love this, and I love her. Such a wonderful song.
mm.
It's easy to get lost in these films like this, though.
Mhm.
Just when you love something so much, like the Beatles. Been such a huge fan of something.
Yeah,
Have
sometimes I catch myself during a watch along forgetting to say anything,
yeah,
and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be commenting on this."
yeah. It's easy, even without volume and stuff. It's easy to get lost in the because if you especially if you've seen it several times, then it's just a beautifully filmed movie too. I think.
So, Candace, we talked about Help, we talked about this movie. What did you think of Magical Mystery Tour?
To tell you the truth, Dana, I started watching it a long time ago, but I've never fully seen it. I never had it, so
I
I've never.
I have seen it all. Now, no offense to the Beatles, but we all know what kind of drugs were being taken during that
Hmm.
time, including LSD and other things. So that movie is clearly drug driven.
Yeah.
Is the
It.
best way I could describe it, but it's still interesting
Hmm.
to
I
watch.
need. I definitely need to sit down and watch it. I think whenever I did start watching it, it wasn't it didn't hold my interest as much at the
Mhm.
time. But just as a fan in general, it's a movie that I probably should watch. So, um, and I think
And
that guy is in it too. That Victor, uh, whatever his, the one that plays the
yeah, I
TV.
think yeah, but it's been a while since I've seen Magical Mystery Tour, but it does seem like he shows up in it.
Now the album, I absolutely love Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah,
That's one of my all-time favorite Beatle albums. I absolutely love it.
I
I
think
think it's brilliant.
probably like especially as far as later albums, the White Album is
Mhm.
just fantastic. I don't care what Charles Manson said about all that mumbo jumbo about Helter Skelter. I'm talking about the music.
Oh,
The,
definitely.
the Beatles didn't say they weren't telling nobody to go out and kill nobody. That was just
No.
his delusional mind that
Yeah,
was, you know. But that has some fantastic songs on
it
it.
does, yeah. Most definitely, yeah, I love the
Sergeant
White Album.
Pepper, that's another one that
Yeah, one of my favorites as well. I know I keep on saying my favorite, my favorite, my favorite, but,
but there's so many good ones, so
it is definitely one of my favorites, Sergeant Pepper. I mean, that album I really got lost in, that was just I think that was probably the 3rd Beatle album that I had ever owned, um, and I remember hearing it for the first time thinking, you know, "This is just something different." This is
Mhm.
unlike Hard Day's Night. This is unlike Help or even Rubber Soul or anything like that. This is something different. The sound was just so different.
And then Paul's grandpa calls them a bunch of sissies. Oh, yes, Yellow Submarine, TJ. They do need a 4K of that. They need a 4K of all these movies.
Yeah.
John scratching the fake beard.
Eras.
The younger generation are leading the country to ruin.
Always like this.
Oh, yeah, just turn right here at the corner.
I mean, John really made this movie too, just with him just being silly.
There he goes. And he wasn't afraid to be silly. I think
Mm-mm.
that's great too. He's like, yeah, so we're in one of the hottest bands around. I don't care. I'm gonna get out here and be silly.
And here we highlight a George song.
Hmm.
Am I syncing up with you? You are at the song, right, Dana?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're pretty well synced. There might be a
Okay.
few seconds here or there, but
George was such a wonderful singer, I thought.
hmm
Especially his solo stuff. I absolutely loved it. And with the Traveling Wilburys,
yeah,
that to me is one of the greatest supergroups of all time. I love Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne of ELO, Bob Dylan,
yeah.
Tom Petty. I love them
Pretty.
all.
I wanted to ask you about this. Do you remember this song that George did like much, much later after the Beatles? Got my mind set on
Oh, I
you.
love it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay, have you seen the video for it?
Probably.
Okay, so I always thought that this was like a Evil Dead 2 like inspired thing because you have the things in the room like singing. I think there's a deer head singing.
Oh,
With the
yeah. I remember
and
that.
I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this is like
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 when all the stuff is going crazy in the
Yeah.
cabin." As well as liking the song. I like the song real well too.
But Ringo had a good solo career. I mean, it wasn't nothing, compared to the other Beatles, but
Mhm.
it was still good. And that Photograph, I think, is a song that he sung that was really
Yeah, I
good.
love that. I loved Back Off Boogaloo, which was a
Mhm.
early thing he did.
Yeah. But the thing that I love about Ringo,
Mhm.
being a little kid in the late '80s, early '90s, was a show called Shining Time Station,
Yeah.
and he played the conductor. Which after he left, I think he only did one season of. George Carlin came and took over, and
Mhm.
I think this was my first exposure to a Beatle.
Yeah.
And I love Thomas Tank Engine and stuff. My son and nephews and stuff, they all love Thomas. And I remember showing Noah that, and I said, "He's a Beatle, Noah." And he said, "Wow," he couldn't believe that. But I think that's really where my first exposure to the Beatles were, because maybe my mom told me that he was a Beatle or something. I can't remember, but um, if you've never seen it, it's got the girl that played Panky, I think, from the Grease.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've seen I guess clips of
yeah,
Ringo on Shining Time Station. I was like, "Hey, it's Ringo." Oh, this guy puts ketchup on his fake wound.
yeah.
grandpa's grandfather's still going on about his
Still,
nose.
yeah.
I'd be mad if somebody took my book away like that. I would
Yeah,
jerk it back too, just like Ringo did.
and just being so mean.
Yeah, he's going to encourage Ringo to, run away. Parading's better. That would be me. I'd be sitting there with my book. I'm living. You're a bit old for that sort of chat. Stealing somebody's sugar or
Yeah,
something from the other table.
it don't even have anything to pour it into.
And then the waitress comes along and takes his
Yeah.
tea or coffee or whatever.
Now I've seen this guy, Wilfred Brambell or whatever his name is. I believe
Mhm.
that's his name. In other British, maybe comedies.
Right.
I really can't, quite remember what they were, but I know I've seen him in other stuff.
Being middle-aged and old takes up most of your time. It really does, though, because I'm at middle age now.
I'm fast and creeping up on it myself, Dana, so it ain't slowing down any.
That makes me think about. I'm sure you've seen Almost Famous, right,
Yeah,
Candace?
I love
There's
almost
there's
famous.
a line where their new road manager or whatever tells them, if you think the Rolling Stones will be up there when they're 50, gyrating and doing all this stuff. And
Yeah,
what were they doing? They were still rocking it out in their 50s.
definitely. I seen them like in 2006 at Churchill Downs at the very first concert there, and I tell you, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, every
Hmm.
one of them were just as good as in the '60s.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to, seeing the Stones.
Rod Stewart, when I seen him in concert, it's been several years now.
Yeah,
Me
I
and
remember
Steve
when you went.
hadn't been married very long, and my first word out of my mouth when that concert was over was Rod Stewart still got it. Nobody can tell me any different about that.
Age has nothing to do with that.
No.
'Cause look
So
at
here
me,
we got a couple of girls chasing Ringo.
mhm.
So he's getting in his disguise. Well, that's not very nice. Of course, he likes it because he's not being recognized now.
Exactly. Getting ready to take a picture at the lake. I don't know if you're at that part. I think I'm a little bit ahead of you.
He's getting ready to take the picture now. Like I said, there might be a few seconds between us
Getting ready to come up to that scene that you was talking about with the little
with
boy in
the
the tire.
boy in the tire. Yeah. Poor Ringo. Like he went to take the picture and the thing broke and the camera fell in the water.
There's a scene during this where he comes to like a construction site
Hmm.
and there's like a big mud puddle and just out of nowhere walks this woman in like high heels or whatever and he puts his coat over that mud puddle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
And when she steps down in it, it must be a manhole or something.
And he's trying to kick this rock or whatever, and then he finally just throws it in the water. Oh, or with the tire. Isn't a hoop, it's a lethal weapon. And this kid has got one of the dirtiest faces I've
Yes,
ever
he
seen.
does. Just around his mouth and nose.
So, for this kid being as young as he is, him and Ringo have an adult conversation here.
Yeah. Like Ringo, he's kind of reminiscent about being a schoolboy himself, I guess.
Mm. It
Just about the
sort
life
of
he had.
it sort of reminds me of that scene in the original Meatballs
Mhm.
when Rudy runs away and he's going to go back home because he thinks somebody likes him, and
Yeah.
Bill Murray shows up and talks to him, and they share fries and all that. Yeah, and then Paul's grandfather, I'm sorry, boys, I didn't mean it, honest. God
Oh
knows
my
what he's
goodness.
unleashed on the unsuspecting South.
He's got this cheese sandwich or
Wow.
whatever it is that's
Yeah, it's like, that was fresh this morning. I'm still going to charge you for it.
and he just keeps on finding himself in more and more trouble no matter what he does. He just can't help but just troubles just to fall on him everywhere.
Oh, no.
Guy's cheese guy's sandwich and he throws that dart and it gets in the bird cage.
Poor parrot. So he gets thrown out of this place.
Mhm. And this just really leads up to one of the greatest romps in the whole film where the Beatles are just getting chased and stuff by the law and all that stuff,
Oh, no.
which I really like. Always enjoyed that. Speaking of the White Album,
Hmm.
one of my favorite songs on there is Rocky Raccoon.
Yeah.
I always love that song, and I think it is my brother's favorite Beatles song. Um, and
Interesting.
you don't hear a lot of people saying that that's one of their
Mhm.
favorites, but I absolutely love that song. I don't know what it is about it. How the Stones kind of adapted a westernized, like southerny accent
Yeah.
sometimes, and I think that was just like Paul's kind of his
Mhm.
attempt at doing that. And I always felt something endearing about that I just really liked. Um, and I think it just makes that song special.
Yeah.
It's different, it sounds like an old western song. So,
Now, I don't know why, but I always like, why don't we do it in the road? Because that could
yeah,
mean a lot of different things. I think people probably take it sexually,
well,
but
I,
it
I
could
I'm wa-
mean it could mean anything though if you think about it.
it
Why don't we
could, yeah,
protest about something?
exactly.
But
But
your first instinct is the sex thing, but
my mind's usually in the gutter, Dana. So I
yeah,
mean,
mine is too, to be honest.
I'm not gonna lie about it. So, um, I think that might be one of the reasons why I like the song.
Mhm.
a lot about
It's
that.
just taboo to
It
to
is, yeah.
like that. It's just like I love John Waite. Even his solo stuff, I liked him with the babies and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
Steve and I actually got to see John Waite in
Mm.
concert a few years back at a very small venue. It
Oh,
wasn't like
really?
going to the Yum Center. It was in Indiana, and it was just like really, really small. And we were
Yeah.
almost right up there to the stage where John
Mm.
Waite was, and I was like, "Oh, there's where that lady fell down the manhole or whatever." Uh, but there is a song. Gosh, I'm, I think it's "Midnight Rendezvous"
Mhm.
that he sings, and at the end of it, as the song is fading out, and it's kind of embarrassing to admit this, but I always liked it when he says, "I just want to f you," and I'm like, "Come on, John Wayne,
Ah,
yeah, tell it like it is," you know. But
my
you hear
goodness.
it as the song is fading out.
Yeah, yeah. There's always little things like that, like the Doors,
Oh,
if you know
yeah.
about the song "The End,"
Yep.
which I think is one of the greatest Doors songs of all time.
Mhm.
Which, as a horror fan, the Doors had a lot of songs that kinda coincided with the whole, you
Yep.
know, got killers walking on the side of the road, hitchhikers, and
Mhm.
I could talk
And
about music all day,
oh, I
David.
could too. I could too.
That's my forte, so which hopefully you might be seeing me on here a little bit more on
I hope so.
not not
I wanna have you on more.
on here with you, and hopefully I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag to
Mm.
myself as well, so if people like music, they might can when that time comes. It's not quite ready, but I have
Amos is
plans.
working on it. That look his grandpa's giving talking
Oh
out the side of
my
his
god.
mouth.
I really don't know who would wanna sit and listen to me yak about music all day anyway, so
I would. All coppers are villains. Sly villains. So he's making Ringo think they're gonna have to fight these guys.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there was somebody named Johnny McCartney in Paul's family.
Could have been, George.
Mm. Let's draw a mustache on him and some glasses.
Again, that guy that plays his grandfather, I just think they picked the perfect guy
I think
for
so
that.
too.
He
Speaking
just
of,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of Beatles, I did do a watch along for "I Want to Hold Your Hand" a while back,
Oh, yeah.
which is a extremely fun movie.
Yeah. I watched it one time, and that was probably it came out in probably late 90s, right?
Actually, it was a
Was it the
70s,
70s? I
mhm,
was I was young, I know, whenever I watched it. I can't really
but
I
it was on
remember
heavy rotation on TV a lot.
there's a scene I remember in it of a girl, like, kinda, like, laying on the drum or something. Am I thinking of the right thing?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so. I believe there
yeah.
is a scene like that. And it
Well, the
has
thing
Wendy Jo Sperber from, uh, Booze on Buddies was on that. And she loved Paul McCartney, and she kept passing out all the time on that movie.
I don't know why I've thought of this because it just reminded me of, because like I said, I seen that I was really little. Um, and I know this has nothing to do with the Beatles, but I remember as a kid watching a Village People movie.
Hmm.
Is that just a fever dream or is that real?
I'm not gonna say it isn't real. I haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Maybe Blissful or somebody that's really into music
I
can.
totally remember that. It was a movie, like a feature length movie,
Mhm.
and kind of like Kiss in the Fountain of the Park, just
Yeah,
really cheesy and which I love those films. I mean, anything to do with music, no matter how cheesy it is. I mean, you know,
yeah. I mean, I'm that way with horror movies too. Like, I like some of
yeah,
the most cheesy stuff ever,
exactly.
but it's just fun.
Mhm.
The
Like the
boys give me a hard time, the Dead Pit Boys, about liking Terror on Tour and stuff like
yeah.
that. But is it a good movie? No, but it's fun.
That's how I feel about, Video Dead. Such a
Yeah.
terrible movie. It's terrible, but I love it. It's fun to watch. There's just something about it I always just, kept on going back to it because it was just so bad it was good.
Mhm. Russell says he can't stop singing with the film. Yeah, I mean,
It's hard. It's hard
it's
not
very
to.
hard.
It's really, really hard to not. You can ask Chris. I'm going around singing the Beatles all the time anyway, so and just hearing these songs that I love so much, it's hard not to sing around with him.
And that guy's just stolen a car, and the cop's like, follow him,
Yeah. Kinda pulls the bowler hat over his ears. And this is the scene I was talking the romp. I call him a romp, I'm a Monkees fan, I'm used to calling them that. But this little Beatles romp that they're having where they're running, chasing getting chased by these cops. And then when they go in there and this concert starts, it's like, "This is great because I think
Mhm.
it follows the Beatles. This is supposed to follow the Beatles around for a few days, I think.
Yeah.
Like a 36-hour period or something like that, 24-hour or something. And I'm sure there were aspects of this film that wasn't exaggerated. I'm
Mhm.
sure, that which I know that they was just chased everywhere they went.
Oh,
And
yeah.
kinda like if you've, ever seen, Great Balls of Fire with,
Yeah.
um, Dennis Quaid, you know how that girl just cuts a piece of his hair? I'm sure that they would have done that to them too if they
Yeah,
coulda
there's
got.
a scene, speaking of cutting hair, there's a scene in Coal Miner's Daughter where Loretta Lynn gets her hair
Yeah,
cut, played
she
by Sissy
does.
Spacek in that.
She said, "She cut my hair." "They cut my hair," or something like that. Which is that's another great film I love. Coal
Yes.
Miners. I love Loretta Lynn.
And I don't even care that much for country music per
I don't
se,
either.
but her life is
Exactly.
or was just so
Yeah.
fascinating. Unfortunately, we lost
Mhm.
Loretta Lynn
Yeah.
not very long ago.
If I listen to country music, that's the kind I like. I like the classic, and I
Mhm.
love a lot of rockabilly, Johnny
Yeah.
Orton and people like that, Marty Robbins. Chris said that there was a Village People movie called "Can't Stop the Music." I think that was it.
Ah,
So
that
I knew
sounds
I wasn't having a
familiar.
fever dream.
There you go. Yeah, Russell, I remember the Ruddles.
Ruddles, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Blissful
movie.
says I was away and heard my name. LOL. Yeah, we were gonna see if you knew the name of the Village People movie, but Chris gave it to us.
Oh, I just love the reactions on these girls' faces because, like I
Mhm,
said, when I was young and I was watching this, I felt like those girls.
mhm.
They just have that effect on you. They
And
give you butterflies.
with New Kids on the Block, which was my boy band,
My
um,
first, yeah,
I don't think that I got to the point where I would have passed out. I was
yeah.
doing this and all that stuff. But I really, really was crazy over them and loved
Mhm.
their music, and Joey
Yeah.
McIntyre was my new kid on the block, you know.
Yeah.
So I may have told this story before, I probably did, but one Christmas I got, you know, the pillowcase and a nightgown with them on it. And I
Yeah.
remember my dad saying, "Yeah, now, Dana, you can sleep with them every night."
I had the room too. But I was really young. I was born in '86, so I was just 4 or 5 years old. But I had the nightgown. I had the bedding and sleeping bags and big old flags.
Mhm.
You know, I love New Kids on, but I had the dolls. I remember getting them in the early '90s.
Yeah.
But my favorite was Jordan. But
Yeah.
I never felt like how I felt about the Beatles. That's the first
No,
time I'd ever felt that way.
I think the Beatles and some of these older musicians and bands, I think the love for them goes a lot deeper than
Yeah,
stuff from the 80s, the
yeah.
90s, stuff like that. Some
Now,
people would disagree, but
well, I'm really into all like grunge, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, stuff like that. So those kind of bands are really special, like the Beatles to me. But with the Beatles, it was more than their music. It was their just enormous, like I don't know, it's just something else about them.
they
Because
I felt like they had their own personalities, unique
exactly.
personalities, that they weren't just a band that was
Mm-mm.
like, have you ever seen a band where no matter how good they are
Yeah.
at performing, the face of the band is just that. It's just them as a whole. There's
Yeah,
no separate parts, no separate
exactly. Yeah.
personalities. And the Beatles had those separate, unique
Mhm.
personalities.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you like a lot of the older TV shows around the same time, like let's just Andy Griffith show. Let's just say that. I'm not saying that they said this, but let's just say if they come on there and say, "Oh, well, uh, h- hey, are you trying to be like Ringo?" You're going to know who
Mhm.
they're talking about. They're
Yeah.
talking about the Beatles. Or you could just say Mop Top, and that the Beatles is who they're talking about. The beat like each one of them had their own, you know, you're either it's kind of like any boy band, really. Even they're not like the typical boy band, but they're probably one of the first boy bands. Um, but you had girls that were the Team George and how Team Ringo and
Well, before that, I mean, you had Elvis, who was
Elvis.
by himself. You had
Mhm.
Jerry Lee Lewis, who was by
Mhm.
himself. Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, all of that stuff. They were pretty much one single guy up there, and
Mhm.
then they would have their band,
Yeah.
but they weren't like the Beatles. They were
Group. Yeah.
still solo artists, pretty much.
Mhm. And the '60s is such a wonderful era
Yes.
for music. I absolutely love that was what I really was into is around the time when I discovered the Beatles. I was really big into the Mamas and the Papas and
Mhm.
um, Herman's Hermits and the Monkees and just all those bands from back then. So, but above all, the Beatles were just different than them all. Even me coming from the '90s, I was discovered them in the '90s. Even in my era, I seen something different, even from, the music that I was accustomed to on the radio.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. Maybe not everybody feels that way. You just have to love them. But I'm sure other people feel that way about other bands.
Now, Blissful says she saw the Monkees live.
I come close to seeing them live. That was right before Davy passed away, and Chris had got me some tickets, and I was finally get to see them. And then something happened with money, and they got tangled with something that they didn't like, and they had to cancel the. It was something financial, I think. Somebody was doing them wrong or something like that, and they had to. Maybe Chris can come in and tell us what that was, but
That
it broke my heart.
I was gonna get to see The Who a few years back, and I
I
was
would love to
really
see The Who.
excited, and they had to cancel because I think Roger Daltrey was sick. I
Mhm.
think he was having throat problems, so he obviously couldn't get up there and sing,
Yeah.
so I didn't get to see him.
I would love to see The Who. Which, Keith's not with them and anymore, he's passed away, and Johnny Entwistle's dead as well, I believe.
I think so,
Um,
yeah.
but, still would love to see him, with Pete and Roger, The Who's a wonderful band.
See, that's why it's so nice to get on here and talk with you, Candace, because Steve's not really into he's not into that 60s era
Yeah.
music.
Oh, I love it. That's just something that I absolutely love. Still to this day, there's something about it. Um, I'm into the heavy stuff, but uh, heavy metal, you got Dawkins and all that good stuff, but um the 60s will always have a special place, and the 70s. I love 70s and
Oh, yeah.
80s on up.
I love that stuff, like, from the '80s. I don't know if I was just under a rock, what it was, but I would hear stuff on the radio,
Yeah.
but I didn't put songs and bands or songs and musicians together until much, much later, and
Yeah.
now I have such a respect for those bands and
Yeah.
musicians, and, there's Paul's grandfather again.
But my mom is a hardcore 80s fan. She absolutely, Journey and Duran Duran, Prince,
Yeah.
all those bands. She just absolutely loves the 80s. So when we're with her, that's what we're usually, listening to, and we'll sit around and we'll sing songs and and I love the 80s. I mean, just
Oh, yeah.
80s pop music. Um, and growing up in the 90s, I was, you know, used to hearing that stuff as well, but
Well, I
I
was
don't know.
used to, I think one of the big reasons I have such a love of '70s music in particular is because that was my parents' era,
Mhm.
and so when I discovered my parents' 8 tracks,
Yeah.
and they still had an 8-track player that worked,
Yeah.
I wore those things the rest of the
Yeah.
way out because I would just play them one right after the other. Tommy James and the Shondells,
Yeah.
that's how I discovered them,
I
and,
loved the 8-track player. I did. I had one. Um, Lovin' Spoonful and Peter, Paul and Mary, and my grandpa got me a 8-track player when I was young, and I just loved it. It's definitely a lost media that it was a
so
fun way.
he calls John Lennon a swine there at the end, Norm does.
I love the ending to this, and they throw out those autographed pictures everywhere.
Yeah, Paul makes his grandfather get rid of them, and
I remember in the 90s as a kid, the Muppets was really having a big comeback.
mhm,
And I had a poster like the Hard Day's Night poster, but it
uh,
was like of Kermit and Animal Miss Piggy and stuff. I wish I knew what happened to that. I love that poster.
there's a lot of things that whenever I left my parents' house and moved in with Steve, I think the stuff is still here. I don't think
Yeah,
it's gotten lost. But Candace, there are some things that after 10 years of marriage, I have not unpacked.
that's
And
how we are.
so
We
now
had moved so much.
mhm. We're getting I like this, the flashes of the Beatles doing
Hmm.
different things. It's almost like those photo booth pic.
Yeah, kind of goes back to where George was making those kind of faces at that press conference that he was. Now this was the guy that made this. He also did like Superman 2 and 3, and he did Help.
Oh, yeah, Richard
Richard Lester.
Lester, yeah.
Hmm.
And this is not a long movie, this is only
Mm.
87 minutes, so,
Yeah.
uh, this would be, this would be a lazy Sunday afternoon movie,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
just sit around and watch and sing along with it, and I know Steve always he makes fun of me because I'll like one time a couple of years ago, I was listening to the Rocky Horror Picture Show
Mm.
soundtrack, and I was just singing along to the time warp and stuff. And of course, with these devices in the house, the Echo devices, Alexa devices, whatever you want to call them, uh, Steve he was watching me on the cameras on those. And he said, I didn't turn on the sound, so I couldn't hear you singing. I'm like, oh God, Steve. He said, but I could see you doing this with and your mouth moving and stuff. I'm like, gee, thanks. Stop spying on me, Steve. So I have
Oh
to
my
watch
goodness.
that now because you never know when Steve might get an itch to see what his wife's doing, especially if I'm off from work, and I'm
Oh, if I knew that Chris was watching me, I'd do it even more. He would too. If I knew he was watching me, I'd be bobbing and singing.
Kathy says, I was with y'all, but streamed on my phone. I was 8 in 1964. I remember watching them on Sullivan. Yeah, can you just imagine, like,
No,
being,
no,
even if you weren't in the audience on the Ed Sullivan show, to be able to watch that live on
exactly. And
television?
that would just be just amazing, you
Mhm.
know. And a lot of people probably at the time didn't realize what they were witnessing, you know.
History was being made right there.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
It's just incredible thought.
But, Candace, I can stay on here as long as you wanna stay on here. I may have to step away for just a
Yeah,
second and run to the restroom.
that'll be fine.
Um, but if you get tired and say, "Gee, Dana, I'm ready to get off here and go to bed." I mean, I know you're a night owl and everything like me,
I don't mind staying here a little bit longer.
but I'm gonna put my movie back in the I'm thankful I have a Blu-ray drive back here so I can watch the movies on Blu-ray. Well,
And, have you worked on any of your commercials any?
actually, I've got one most of the way done for the Chum cocktails, and I've also been working on the TMI show one. Uh, Give me just a second. Let me run the restroom. I'll let Candace keep y'all entertained. Candace, can you see the comments?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I turned them on.
Okay. So I will be right back. I'm going to run the restroom real quick.
Well, guys, I'm not one to really keep anybody entertained, so, just for, purposes of me not just sitting here and having dead air, what are your favorite bands from the 70s? Some of mine are the Eagles. I love the Eagles. Big fan of the Eagles. That'll just get me a going. I'm not like Jay. I can't just think of stuff off the top of my head to sit and talk about. Um, but yeah, I really love this movie. I love Help too. I really don't know which one I like better, A Hard Day's Night or Help. I think I got a little, just as an entertainment wise, I think I like Help just a little bit more. But as far as the soundtrack and the um, just the songs and stuff that's in it, A Hard Day's Night is my favorite. But Help is really funny. It's got a storyline to it that takes it a little bit further than what this one does. Blissful, you say Bad Company and Kiss. I love Bad Company and Kiss. I've seen Bad Company in concert. I've seen Kiss, not with Ace or Peter, but they were still really wonderful live. It's one of the just highlights of my life because I just love Kiss so much. Bad Company is wonderful. Seeing them live, they were great. Thin Lizzy, Foghat, I've seen them. Grand Funk Railroad. My brother really likes Grand Funk Railroad.
Talking about all my favorites there, King.
AC/DC. Yeah, my dad was a '70s person. He loved the '70s and Eagles and stuff like that, and I grew up listening to Tom Petty and uh, the Heartbreakers and all that good stuff. Bad Company and
My
um,
dad got me into people like Three Dog Night, The Guess Who.
my dad likes three. He really loved Three Dogs Night. Three Dog Night, but uh, are they the one that sings Jeremiah was a bullfrog?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which is there's a cute little scene, speaking of that song, at the beginning of oh my gosh, I'm losing my brain. It was right there. The Big Chill.
Hmm.
See, you can tell I'm getting old. I'm forgetting things. But when Kevin Kline is singing with his young son, and his son is in the bathtub, and he's like, "Jeremiah was a bullfrog," and that is just a. I mean, it's right before they get the call that one of their friends has killed himself or
Yeah.
suicide, and but that little snippet of time where he's just singing along with his son while he's helping him take a bath is just so it's so natural and seems almost like he's doing that with his real son. And
Yeah.
I always really like that. Of course, The Big Chill's one of my favorite movies too.
Joy to the World, that's what it's called, Chris, yeah.
Yeah, Chris is
Creedence,
there to
yeah.
keep us in line there.
Yeah.
Creedence Clearwater Revival, that's another band that my dad got me into.
Mine too, he absolutely loved Creedence, um, you mentioned the Guess Who, I always loved the Guess Who. No Sugar Tonight, and
Have you ever heard a song that they sang called Bus Rider?
I'm not familiar.
I would play it if I didn't think it would give me a copyright claim or strike. But my dad told me he always liked that song,
Yeah.
even though it had GD in it.
Oh, kinda
But
like
he said he loved the song though,
yeah,
and I finally found it, and it talks about basically it talks about real life, about a man going to work every day and having to ride the bus.
yeah,
Um, gonna have to wear a toupee because you're losing your hair. It's got
yeah,
all kinds of realistic things that people go through in life. But it's a really good song, despite the fact that it has that word in it. But Dad always seemed like he was almost embarrassed to say that he liked it because it had that
yeah.
word in it. But
Well, it's
it is a really good song.
kinda like "Life in the Fast Lane" by the Eagles, you just
Yes.
have to
Mhm.
overlook that, if that's something that bothers you, and,
Mhm.
I still love the song,
Yeah.
but, I mean, each each, 60s, 70s, 80s, 50s, I even like 40s. I love, like, Dean Martin, he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Frank Sinatra, people like that. I'm
Steve
even seeing that
loves
stuff.
that. He loves that stuff. He
Yeah.
got me into it kind of.
Yeah, one of my favorite people in the whole world is Dean Martin. Um, I just think that I don't know Italian, but I can sing along with him in Italian. But I'm sure that a real Italian would hear me singing and be like, okay." But
Oh, Kathy, ZZ Top. I love
yeah,
ZZ Top, and one of my favorite songs, and this always reminds me of my dear husband when I hear it now, because of a video that Steve had me watch where he was watching Friday the 13th films for a buddy of his and talking about them in between. So you've got a very young, very built Steve. He's still very built, but I mean, he was young. He had a little ponytail and stuff like that. And the ZZ Top song "Rough Boy"
yeah, yeah,
comes
rough boy.
on, and Steve's like by himself videotaping this stuff, and so he said, "Well, I got some tape left," and he starts doing poses and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's my husband." But that
Yeah,
song now, because it was playing in the background, I always associate with Steve.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
ZZ Top. That was one of my dad's favorite bands, and I've seen them twice. But I absolutely love ZZ Top. I think that they, especially in the 80s,
Mhm.
they had a sound like nobody else. It was like Western outer space or something like that. I mean, they're it's like you're playing some kind of like action video game from the 80s. And the albums Recycler and Afterburner, two of my favorite albums of all time. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, I think Afterburner's the one I like really, really
Yeah,
well.
I absolutely love 'em. My favorite song is called Planet of Women.
I know
Yeah.
which one you're talking about, and I even like sleeping bags, slide into
Sleep
my
'em.
sleeping bag. I
And I
sure
know if I don't tell it and Chris is on here, he's gonna come in here and write it. But when I was little, I used to, when my dad would play that tape and Sleeping Bag would come on, I used to think that they were saying Super Soaker 69. I don't know why. And he always, whenever that song comes on, Chris is always like, Super Soaker 69, huh? I was like, yeah. So I know if I didn't mention it, Chris would probably stuck it in the comments there.
yeah, or pop back in here and say, "You know what?"
You know how you're little and you don't really know how stuff goes sometimes.
Well, there used to be a website called the Archive of Misheard Lyrics. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's still around, but, speaking of Creedence Clearwater Revival, when they were singing "There's a Bad Moon on the
yeah.
Right," people thought they were saying "There's a bathroom on the right," and there was a whole bunch of songs that was like that. Now, that song "Louie Louie,"
Louie Lou, oh god,
that
that got me.
always got
The
a
Kingsman, right? That's who sang
I
that,
believe so,
Kingsman.
yeah,
Yeah.
and people thought that they had all kinds of dirty stuff in it about
Yes,
sex and
yes.
stuff,
Yeah.
uh, and if you watch Animal House, they're singing the dirty version of Louie Louie, yet they're all drunk, and the guys have just gotten into the fraternity, and they're, swaying back and forth and singing Louie Louie, and it's so great.
It's like about a sailor that goes to sea or something like that, but it's like what they turn people think the lyrics are is really, really bad.
Yeah,
Which, to be honest, the guy singing it doesn't help it by, just kind of slurring the words together, I guess. Um, but talking about Credence, one of the greatest to me as a child, one of the scariest moments in movie, like a opening movie, was the Twilight Zone, the movie.
oh,
Uh, when they're going down the road and Dan Aykroyd says, "You want to see something scary?"
yeah,
And Credence is playing on the radio, and oh my god, that still scares me to this day. And I know I've seen him in the makeup, I've seen what he looks like, but it's just me as an adult still want to close my eyes when that comes on there.
well, I remember the first time I saw that, and before that, everything I'd seen Dan Aykroyd in, he was
Yeah,
funny, and he
yeah,
is funny on up until that part, and it's like,
yeah,
"Holy crap!" He he turned into this creature, and that creature looked kinda like something that would be on Scooby Doo and be going,
yeah,
"Oh," like that,
yeah. Yeah, but it just there's something about it that it was shocking, I
Yeah,
guess. And being a
exactly.
little kid and seeing that, it terrified me. So, I still to this day find myself kinda dreading seeing it. Yeah, I don't know
There's
why.
certain stuff that sticks with you like that. I know, I wasn't super young when Pet Cemetery came out, but I was
Mhm.
maybe all of 13
Yeah,
when it came out. And s- Zelda still gives me goosebumps.
me
It
too.
still gets under my skin.
Yeah.
And when I'm watching it, you have a sense of dread when you watch Pet Cemetery, and nobody wants to see the part where
No.
Gage gets run over in the road. Whether you have kids or you don't have kids, you don't want to see that scene. But the Zelda scenes, I don't want to see either. I'm like, they're
Yeah.
coming. I know they're coming, and
And
you can't prepare for them though.
it kinda makes you dread, like, hallways and stuff like that, because like, she's in a room and it's
Mhm.
I don't know, which I love Pet Sematary. I think that's one of the greatest horror
I do
films of all
too.
time. And, just seeing Herman Munster in it, is just
Fred
crazy. Seeing Fred
Gwynne,
Gwynn, outside of his character of Herman Munster, anyways, is kind of, because I love My Cousin Vinny. He plays the judge in that, and I
Yeah.
think that was actually his last role.
I believe it
But
was, yeah.
just seeing him in a film outside of being Herman Munster anyway is kind of odd. But to see him play, a character who's getting, murdered, it's kind of, especially as a kid seeing that too,
It's
and knowing who.
unsettling. Herman Munster's getting
Yeah,
killed here.
yeah, exactly, and but still just a great film. I like the second one as well with Edward Furlong.
I went to the movies and saw that one,
Mhm. Yeah,
and I
with
clearly
Clancy
remember.
Brown. Yeah, I like it as well. Not as good as the first, but I still liked it. I really
No, but
liked it.
Clancy Brown is part of what makes that movie
Yeah,
because I've referenced that dinner scene where, like, it's pretty
yeah.
gruesome right before that because he loved his rabbits, but
Rabbits,
he
yeah.
comes back from the dead, he's ripping them apart,
Yeah.
and then they're having them for dinner that
Mhm.
night, and the whole scene where the boys are just looking at him, waiting for something to happen, and all of a sudden he starts laughing and food starts falling out of his mouth. They
Yeah.
start laughing, then all of a sudden he goes like that and just looks at him. That scene just kills me. But there is
Yeah.
a very creepy part when he goes completely ape and he's chasing Drew and his mother
Yeah.
in the cop car, the cop vehicle, and he's Drew, buddy,
Yeah.
and he's looking at him, and that whole scene, and the song that's playing. Who does the song? Do you know who does that song that's playing during that whole scene?
I would
It
have to go back and watch it.
because it's like I want to. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but it says I want to die just like Jesus Christ,
Mhm.
and it's just a very eerie
Yeah.
song. So if anybody knows that song, let me know. But
Just the whole movie in itself is really it's an unsettling film, but it's just something about it that I just absolutely love. Um, it's different in a way from the first film, I think. The whole
right,
feel of it is different.
yes,
But it's a wonderful film.
mhm.
Um, I've had people tell me they didn't like it. I'm like, well, to each their own, but I thought it was great myself.
I did too, and I was very entertained by it. And whereas I
Mhm.
didn't get to see the original Pet Cemetery in the movie theater, I
Yeah,
got to see this one at the
yeah.
movies. Um, Russell says, grew up with the Munsters and lived them until Rob Zombie killed them for us.
Ah,
You know, uh, Hope, aka Old Curly Jaws, they used to talk about, Rob Zombie all the time, but when the Munsters came out, ooh, Hope did not like that at all. Yeah.
I didn't hate it,
Mhm.
but I didn't love it. The Munsters to me is one of my favorite things too.
It's kinda
And
sacred.
it's to me it's untouchable. It's like this Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is my favorite film of all time. So even though all these people are coming back at it, I'm very reluctant for it because I'm scared. Because this is a movie that I've watched from as long as I can remember watching film. Beetlejuice is the very first film I ever remember watching and just loving. And I get attached to things, kind of like the Beatles. I'm attached to them. They stick with me for all my life, and just I'm very scared that it's going to be something that's going to disappoint me. But
Yeah.
I love Michael Keaton, and I think that he really holds that character of Beetlejuice close to him. So I believe that you know, and I seen that they wasn't going to be using like CGI like rest of the films. So that kind of gives me hope that it's going to be something that I'm going to like. I may not love it like I do the first film, but
Right.
I at least want to like it. So, I'm not a type of person, I'll give something a chance. Even if it looks bad, I'm going to give it a chance.
Yeah.
So, but if I hate it, I hate it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so Batman says, "Dana, the song from Pet Sematary 2 is called Reverence, and the band is the
Jesus and Mary
Jesus
Chain.
and Mary Chain." Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Batman, for letting me know that. I just couldn't recall who did that one for the life of me or what the name of it was. Candace was talking about giving these movies a chance and stuff. I try to do that too, and people are going to be like, "Oh God, here she goes again." But I know that Dirk and other people have told me that Evil Dead from 2013 is not a remake. It's not a reboot or anything like that. But here's what bothers me about that. And it's the only movie I've ever went to where I actively wanted to get up and leave the theater. Because Evil Dead, to me personally, the Evil Dead films, the original ones, are sacred to me.
Yeah,
So what they did with that, the Evil Dead name, what they did with that was just blasphemy to me
yeah.
because Candace, have you seen Evil Dead 2013?
I think I skipped out on that one.
Uh,
If
probably
I did, if I did watch it, I've forgotten about it. Chris
because,
watched it, I'm pretty sure.
so I don't want to offend anybody. If Chris liked it, I definitely don't want to offend him
I
either.
don't know if you did or not.
But I did not like the whole drug intervention stance or the drug addiction stance. Now, Dirk said he appreciated that. But I didn't feel like it fit. It didn't fit in Evil Dead timeline in
Yeah,
any way, shape, or form because you had a girl who was addicted to drugs, and her friends and her brother were basically getting together and bringing her to this cabin for an intervention. That's what I got from it. And people start getting turned into deadites. But I just did not like that setup at all.
it just
And
didn't probably have the feel that the Evil Dead series has. You
you're
know.
right. It was not fun. And I'm sorry, but I hated every character in that from the drug addicted sister on down.
Yeah,
I just did not like those people, and I didn't care what happened to them.
yeah,
As sarcastic as the Ash character becomes as those movies go on, I still want to know what happens to him. I still care what happens to him.
yeah.
He's entertaining.
And
Um, but
it's hard too whenever you don't feel anything for a character in a
yeah,
film. You can't even find
exactly.
one character to feel something for, whether it's something good or bad. That's really to me what makes a film is the connection, whatever that connection be. You know, is having that with a character. And if you can't find that with even one character, then it's hard to probably like a film
Mhm.
or feel anything about it. You know what I mean? Um,
And then here's one that Jay cannot believe that he said, Dana, I love you, but you're just wrong on this. So I had never seen The Wicker Man.
mhm.
And Jay and other people kept talking about, you got to watch The Wicker Man. Don't watch the Nicolas Cage one, which I had already seen 8 years
Yeah.
ago. And yeah, it's silly. You know, not the bees, not the bees. The whole thing is,
Mhm.
it's silly. But I finally sat down with Steve and watched the original Wicker Man. And I was like, what in the heck? Why do people like this? Christopher Lee going around dancing around. You got naked girls dancing around. What in the world is this movie and why do people like it? It
I'm
it's
not
just
I'm not huge on it either, Dana.
mhm.
Either one, the Nicolas Cage or the older one. And I love
Right.
Christopher Lee. But
Oh, I do
Chris
too.
yeah, Chris said that we seen it in theater, so I guess I didn't like it, Dana, because I can't remember it.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
i if I don't like something, I really don't. It's some I've seen so much stuff, I can't remember what I watched 'em. You know that. You know my memory ain't wonderful, so if I
I
don't like it, I'm
understand
not gonna
it.
I must not cared for it.
Well, Nicolas Cage and Willy's Wonderland, that was fun. I
I
like
like
Willy's
that. Yeah, me and Chris both like that. Yeah.
Wonderland.
That was a unique, film, and he didn't have any words in it or anything like that.
No, no. And I'm not, I like Nicolas Cage as an actor, but
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff he's done in the last few years, with the exception of Willy's Wonderland, I haven't really much cared for. I did not. What was that movie, Mandy? I hated that movie. I didn't understand that movie at all. I didn't like Mom and Dad that he was in. Um, I
Oh, that
think I think parents probably did that theme kind of better, being scared of your mom and
yeah.
dad.
No, he was in a film, Renfield? Is that
Yeah,
a I liked it.
it was pretty decent. Yeah.
I like the guy who, played the main character in that film. I really like him as an actor.
So Chris says, I don't hate Evil Dead 2013, but I agree with Dana. The drug thing seems super unnecessary, which is a very good way of putting it. Um, well, if y'all want to see my commercial stuff, we can take a little
Yeah, yeah.
jaunt into my commercial endeavors here. Uh, Jay really liked the one I did for the Chum Cocktails because he's featured on it, but I kind of took the clip and it
Yeah, I seen it
tried to
last
do
night.
some cool things. So let's see here. Let's see if I can get my bearings here for a second. Now, y'all may hear this thing play for a split second, but I'll run it back. So let's see here. Here we go. Slow ahead. Yeah. You'll hear Jay there for a second. All right. Now let's see. See if we can share the screen here. The way I do, you would think I hadn't used StreamYard a day in my life, but I always fumble a little bit. Here we go. Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come down here and drink some of this shit. Chum cocktail.
I like that, Dana. I seen it last night, and I laughed whenever I seen it.
Okay, so we'll stop sharing that one, and then let's bring up the TMI show one featuring Candace and Chris and CJ.
Oh, my lord.
It was really good though, Candace. I loved it. All right, so let's see. I think this, yeah, this is the one. All right, all right. Well, let me stop that. I gotta share it first. Here we go. That thing just automatically starts and it throws me off when I bring it up. Let's see here. So window, here we go. Now, let's try this out. All right, all right, all right. Want to hear something juicy? Something spicy? Then tune in to TMI with Dana and Jay where things get wild. You may giggle. You may blush, but you won't regret it. I haven't been the same since I watched TMI 1 with Dana and Jay. It's just, I can't do it. It was so cool. And I hear that there's a TMI 2. Y'all need to stay tuned out and watch some stuff with Dana. All right? Evil Dead Chick's got it going on. The TMI show was about exposing myself. It was about stripping myself bare. It was about giving till it hurts. Okay.
I like it, Dana. Even if
So
I had to see my old ugly mug on there.
oh, I when Candace sent me that clip, guys and gals, I was dying because and especially I loved it all, but like Chris was so like I'm just like relaxing on my couch with my soda and stuff, and
Chris really laid it to the character, didn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, I think he did. Um,
Shh. You know, Dana, we've known each other now for 14 years almost. And Dana is a very special person, uh,
Candace is a very special person to me too.
and she's the godmother of our child, of mine and Chris's child, and just I wouldn't have picked somebody if I didn't just know that they were just such a sweet person. Dana is sweet and just kind and caring, and everything she does, she just puts her all into. So uh I just wanted to say that. Because it's true, Dana. I mean, you put
Yeah,
your
I
your all
appreciate
into
it.
anything. And I'm sure all these people that sit here and watch you, they agree. They don't come back for nothing. And I said, well, if I'm gonna be silly, I'll do it. I'll do it for Dana because she's one that I will do it for.
Well, and I try to do right by people when they send me,
Mhm.
clips. TJ, I don't know if you're still in here, but I really wanted TJ, bless his heart, to send in a clip. We wanted to do, or I wanted to do this really elaborate thing where it was like I really wanted TJ to wear a straight jacket, but I didn't think I was going to be able to get him to do that. Where he never recovered from the TMI show. And I was like, TJ, it'd be really cool if we could make it look like you were in a padded room and all that stuff, and you were just in a daze and, you never recovered. And I may get a clip from him later on. I know people's days are kind of full, and I still got to do voiceover over those commercials because what I want to do with the TMI one is I want to say my voice is saying, so just what are people saying about the TMI show? And then
Yeah,
have the clips play. And the one with Jay talking about the chum cocktails, I want to use my mixer and hook my microphone into it and make my voice sound like a man's voice, like those commercial announcements,
yeah.
and say, at the end of it, say, Quint's handcrafted chum cocktails. Be sure to bring plenty along on your next shark hunting adventure. Just to tie it in more with Jaws and all that.
Thank you, Blissful, and thank you, Russell, for the
Yes,
kind comments.
yes. Um, let's see. Blissful says at the mention of TMI, he may be under the couch. Poor
Ah.
TJ. I think he will be scarred for life. He didn't know what he was getting himself in for.
Well, I mean, you guys are just having fun. Whenever you're making these videos and stuff, the TMI or whatever, people can take them for what they are, or they can make something different out of it. But you're all, you're having fun is the thing, and a lot of people are just afraid to you know talk and to have fun like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. So if somebody's willing to give you stuff that's different, then run with it. Don't say, "Oh, if you don't like it, don't watch it." That's
Yeah,
what I
because,
say.
one thing I would never do is try to force people to watch
Hmm.
content. And if they
Yeah.
like all the rest of the content except the TMI shows, then God bless you. Watch the
Mhm.
other content. You don't have to watch that.
Yeah, yeah. You make
Uh,
plenty enough for anybody to go and choose from. So,
mm,
which I understand that could be too much for some people. That's totally true. But like you said, you're not forcing somebody to watch it or anything like that. But if you're willing to and you want to, it's there. So,
At first, when me and Jay first did that first TMI show, I was a little concerned, not about what Jay put out there, because I felt fully comfortable with him sharing the stories, and
yeah,
as long as he felt comfortable, I felt comfortable. Okay,
yeah.
but what I was worried about was, did I let loose too much stuff? Did I share too much of myself? And so I actually talked it over with Jay. I was telling him, I said, you didn't do anything wrong, Jay, but I'm almost thinking maybe I might have went a little too far with this, and I might end up having to private the video. And then after a while, I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it out there. YouTube, knock on wood, they haven't said anything I haven't gotten any emails saying, hey, somebody complained about this video and y'all were getting a
Yeah.
little too, intimate.
Well, if you don't like it, just click off of it,
Mm.
Don't you have an option to do that.
And I know that I can't keep kids from seeing it. I can put, this is not for children, which I put on all my videos.
Yeah.
That, and I leave it up to the parents. Like Candace, for instance, she's not a bad parent. Her and Chris and I believe CJ and Noah had all watched stuff that I have done together. And I have no problem with that at all because Candace is there. Chris
Yeah.
is there. If Noah has any questions about what is being said on there,
Yeah.
they can, you know, explain in their own way,
Yeah.
or they can say, well, Noah, when you're older, we'll explain about
Yeah.
what this is. But
And,
they're being responsible.
yeah, and Noah is the type that if he does hear something that he doesn't like or something, he will close his ears or walk away or something. But Dana, there's far worse than anything that you put out on YouTube that is geared towards kids that people put out there. So I mean, you don't have anything to worry about. I mean, there's stuff that has just popped up on the those new shorts that they have here on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's stuff that pops up on there that the kids will be watching. We'll right there with them monitoring what they're watching, and they'll have to scroll off of it real fast because it's terrible.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's far worse than what any TMI that you put out
Yeah.
that is out
Well,
there.
I think Steve was a little concerned about how far I would go, what I would say, and I said a few cursory things here and there, and I joked about things like sex toys and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But why can't we joke about it? I mean,
Well,
some of that
yeah.
stuff is funny. You know, my
If you
mom
have
I was gonna say my mom had stories that she told about cleaning houses for people, and I'm not gonna say who in case somebody I know watches this and say,
Yeah.
"Oh my god," but mom would be making the beds in these houses. There'd be sex toys in
Oh,
the bed,
yeah, I can imagine.
you know, and mom also she used to clean motel rooms,
Oh, I
long
can
time
imagine what you
ago.
find there too.
Well, she said one time she would, you would go and you would knock on the door and you'd say housekeeping
Yeah.
to let that person know if they weren't decent, they needed to, either tell you to come back later or they needed to hurry up and get dressed.
Yeah.
So this guy, she said housekeeping, she knocked on the door. He said, yeah, you can come on in. Mom says she came in and this guy was in bed still.
Oh my
He could have
goodness.
been naked or anything else.
Okay.
And he was like, "You go ahead and clean the room." And mom was like, "No, I'll come back later."
I don't blame her. No, that could have been a situation there.
Mhm. And my dad said he probably wanted you. Of course, Dad tried to laugh it off. He said he probably wanted you to get in bed with him.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I guess Dana here, I'll show you my little have I showed you my now your Ash isn't he's indecent. So we're not gonna show him, okay? He's
Okay.
still he's still indecent. But I can show you my little Mothman.
Oh, awesome.
I finally got his skin put on, his fur.
Cool.
So he's got a big needle sticking out of him, but here he is so
Oh,
far.
daddy.
He's got his little
I
fur
love
on.
it.
So he's a coming along. I got his little wings. I don't still don't know what I'm gonna do, but he's about done, I'd say.
I just
Almost done.
I love the eyes and air. I just love everything about him. He's just,
Well, like I said, this is a prototype. So whenever I do the other ones, I'm gonna do the glow in the dark eyes. Because these have like fluorescent eyes,
uh
but
huh.
they're not glow in the dark. And I just wish that I had done that with this one. But with any prototype, I mean, like you making prototypes of shirts and those bears and stuff like that. So you know how you got to kind of play around with them. But um, yeah, whenever your Ash gets done, you can show him. But I think that he would probably scare some people off right now. in his
Well,
shape that he's in.
I'd seen him in the early stages, like, Candace had actually done some videos and put them on Facebook of, like, her, sculpting him, like, his face and stuff like that, and I was talking to her one night whenever she had him in the oven. He was baking, um, but, yeah, I'm just, like, I'm so excited, which I think this might be a good time for people are gonna be like, "Please, for the love of God, stop talking about those booga booga bears." But, uh, I promise I'm gonna get these things done and get them sent out to oops, I'm tripping over stuff too. I promise I ain't been drinking since earlier today when I had that vodka, but this is Jay's Booga Booga Bear. This is not the real design. This is just so I could get placement on the shirt properly. But you can see they're really, really cute and they're really, really soft and
Definitely soft.
all that. And these do have the hoodies. You can't pull them up on their head, but they look just fine like that, I think. Um, I think Blissful said, "You don't want them looking like the Unabomber anyway." And I was like, "No, we don't want them looking like that." And this is Kathy's, or what will be Kathy's bear, and it's going to have the Freddy Krueger glove.
And that's gonna look good too, Dana.
Yeah, they're just so cute.
They are. I mean, you could just tell how soft they are.
And I was a little worried that they wouldn't be as cute as the bear I got for myself, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're adorable.
Well, I
But
just, I love them. I think they're really cute, really cute. Because that's why I grew up with those little music bears and stuff. And I
mhm,
remember I had the monkeys one, and seems like I remember Alabama one, the country music band Alabama, and probably other ones too. But I thought that's such a good idea. Just putting that onto a teddy bear, like doing the horror T-shirts, or
mhm,
even like bands like Kiss, or something on there, whatever anybody wants.
yeah, because I
Uh,
mean, the possibilities are endless. And I showed a few products that I think I did that on the last, like it was supposed to be midday with Dana and Jay, but Jay had an eye doctor's appointment, so it was
yeah.
just midday with Dana. And I showed some products that I'm going to be doing, like the tumblers and the candles and the frosted beer mugs.
Yeah, and I love those.
Of course, you don't have to put beer in them if you're not a
No,
beer drinker. Make your root beer
root
float.
beer, that's what I love, root beer.
Um, Kathy said, Dana, that's hilarious. I'm not sure what was it, the commercials maybe? I don't know. I can't remember what all I've said now. Um,
So
oh,
after your Ash, I don't know if I told you or not, but I got another one I'm doing after
oh,
Ash for somebody else. It's Sammy Kerr from Trick or Treat.
oh, that's right. You did
Did I
tell me.
tell you about that?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
I'm excited
awesome.
for that too.
Yeah, I want to see what that one looks like when you get it done.
I'm just having to brainstorm because like his body, it's going to show more of his body, so he can't be like a soft, plushy feeling like how like Ash is. So I'm
Right.
going to probably have to do a lot of sculpting on him, I'd say. But I hope that whenever Ash gets done, that he's halfway decent.
Oh, I'm sure all of these things are gonna be awesome. Even when I saw your Mothman in the beginning stages, I was like, "That is cool." And I showed the picture to Steve. I was like, "Look what Candace is working on." And his
Yeah.
eyebrows went up, which Steve is the I told Candace this. Steve is not really one to go woo about and get really excited over stuff like me. But when he shows an interest, like if an eyebrow goes up and he's actually focusing on what you're showing him instead of staring at his laptop or staring at the TV screen, if he can take his eyes off of that and look at what you're showing him, then he's interested. So I have learned over the
Yeah.
years to gauge how Steve
Oh,
uh,
that's my albino version. I was going to do one that looked like the traditional black with red eyes and stuff like that. But I'm hoping to do a little series of them, like Sasquatch or Loch Ness Monster, just, a lot of cryptid stuff. I like cryptids. I've always been
Mhm.
intrigued with stuff. I thought they were cute. So, um, have you ever been to the Mothman Museum
I
there?
have not, but I would sure like to.
It's wonderful there. I love it.
I would
If you're
like to go there, and I would also if I ever got in, Falk, Arkansas, I would love to see, like, the stuff they got for the, oh, shoot, well, it's called the Falk Monster, but the Legend of Boggy Creek stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Now,
See,
if you ever take a trip up to Point Pleasant for the Mothman Museum and all that stuff is, if you're interested, I don't know if you're interested in the Billy Bob's Wonderland stuff, the Rockefeller explosion. You know what I'm talking
oh,
about?
yeah, yeah.
The Showbiz Pizza stuff.
Mhm.
They have a place that we always stop there because we love the Rockefeller explosion and stuff like that. I grew up with it, and Chris, he loves it too. So we always stop there, and then we go to Hillbilly Hot Dogs. If you've never eaten there, that's a wonderful place if you like
It
hot dogs.
sounds good. It
It's
sounds
really good. Some of the best hot dogs that you can eat. Um, and then we go to Point Pleasant, and it makes a good trip. The kids loved it there. It's creepy. It's like it's like whether you believe in that or not, it's creepy. You know what I mean? It's like you can feel, you kind of scare yourself into it. It's like you can feel the Mothman. Is he real? Is he not?
well, I remember watching that Mothman movie from
Mhm.
several years ago, and I was just fascinated
Yeah.
with that.
So.
And the Jersey Devil and all of
Mhm.
that stuff like that is just really, really
It
interesting.
is, yeah, definitely. And if you're into that movie, that Mothman Prophecies, in that Mothman museum is a lot of the props and stuff there.
Mhm.
So that was neat seeing all that stuff too.
So
Um,
we must be entertaining because Russell came back. He
oh,
left and
did he?
he said, "I got lonely, so I came back." Well, welcome back, Russell. We're glad you came back. Um, something I have noticed is the Dead Pit Boys haven't been making their typical drive-bys, so I don't know if they've just been busy or what's going on with that. So I sent speaking of the boys, I sent Wes a one of those little videos I made using that Revive app on my phone, and I sent Candace some of it. It looks like people are singing different songs, and so the Golden Girls song "Thank You for Being a Friend"
Yeah.
by Andrew Gold. I had I had Wes and Steve singing that, and it was a picture that I had made look like a cartoon kind of thing from when Wes and Sarah came to visit us one time. We went in a Goodwill store, and Steve was, of course, tired, and Wes was being silly and came and sat down beside him on this love seat in the Goodwill and put his arm around Steve, and Steve's going like this. And that is the most hilarious picture ever. So I use that a lot and turn it into different things, but that's the picture I use. And so it's like Wes is saying, "Thank you for being a friend." And Steve's like looking like, "Are you crazy?"
Ah,
But Chris says it must be CK and UB's time of the
oh my
month.
gosh. Oh, hush.
Uh, Lizzle said those had me laughing so hard. Yeah, they had me laughing while I was creating them, almost as much as when I did the Midday with Dana and Jay shirt designs, and it had the shining theme. It was funny enough putting me and Jay in Jack and Wendy's roles, but when I got to the back image on the shirt and put Steve's face on Danny,
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard I could barely finish that design.
That was a nice touch, I thought.
I was like, "Who
Um,
can I put on Danny on the back? Oh, yeah, I can put Steve on here. I got the great picture to put him on." Um, and let's see. Uh, oh, That's right, Batman. Uncle Bill's got Exploit Nation later on tonight. Yeah, I forget about that. So that's at 10.
Have we had a bunch of people for this one, or
Yeah, we had quite a few. We still got 8 people in here, but I
mm,
think we had over 10 when we were actually
really?
doing the movie. Yeah. And Russell's a testament that like we're having so much fun. He had to come back.
Uh, I can't believe I've kept somebody's attention.
And you're a very entertaining person.
Um,
I loved having you on here all the whole time. For the first time on here, it's like
I'm
I'm
glad I
not
got to.
I'm not trying to be dirty here, but we busted Candace's cherry on being live on.
Officially,
Yeah,
it's not me in the background, saying, "Hey, they got some guy in the back my backyard under the trampoline," and
yeah,
that was crazy.
that was a weird night.
That
Actually,
was crazy.
mm,
'Cause me and my brother went and got him from work or something and come here, had took my nephews home or something like that, and I come and pick my brother up from work, and we come in and Chris was still on it, so we just decided that we, watch him on the
mm,
TV, and we'd been sitting there like 30 minutes just hearing something rustling outside, and the dogs, next door was just barking, which is not really uncommon. But
mhm,
then when our dogs started barking and stuff like that, and it was like somebody was out there,
yeah,
and it was kinda windy out, so I kept on hearing things move on the windows. So
mhm,
I have these, like, little things from the Dollar Tree, like little signs and stuff on my so I just thought it was the wind blowing that. Apparently, it was this guy high on meth, going through our stuff because I had a bunch of stuff out there in our carport that needed to go to storage, and,
mhm.
whenever we walked out and that guy just, like, lunged at us and we
Yeah, and then
freaked
when
out.
it was you and CJ, right, that were looking out
Yeah.
the door and, like, y'all just
I
backed
mean, I
like
sent you the
you
video. You seen it, right? You
yeah,
seen
yeah,
that?
you were like, "Get back in, get back in," it's
'Cause we just didn't realize what was going on, and it was like it kind of got booby trapped because my brother had a shelf out there that he was getting ready to take home, and it was a shelf that I had taken off the wall in our living room because 'cause we're remodeling the living room, slowly but surely, and, it had big long things on brackets on it that held it up on the wall, and this shelf was sitting there on we have, like, a step that you step up onto
Uh-huh,
before you get up onto our actual porch. And he had that shelf sitting there. So when that man came, whenever my brother walked up, because I didn't see him yet, my brother sees him first, and I hear my brother say, "Hey, buddy," or something like that. And I
uh-huh.
come out behind him, and that's when I see this guy just falling, lunging towards. So as he tried to lunge, he hit that bracket that was sticking out. My brother booby trapped him, kind of. Ah, so, but he was so, like, out of his mind. I don't know how he was gonna do anything anyway.
Right,
Um, so, yeah, that was just weird, and I can't believe that they got him 'cause usually the police don't come and do anything, but they came, and there was, like, 6 or 7 big cars out there and caught him out underneath our trampoline,
yeah.
and just it was a crazy night, and I said,
Well,
"Dang,
the stuff that's happened to you guys, the stuff that happened several years ago to Uncle Bill, where that guy you remember when that guy broke into his house?
yeah, come through his house or something like that, come
And
out
I
the
think
back
he
door or
grabbed
something."
a hold of Uncle Bill and,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, there and he was high on something. I can't remember exactly what, but
That's why I never leave my doors unlocked. I never leave them unlocked, not even a minute,
mm-mm.
because you never know about people. And, we have cameras, but, what's that gonna do whenever you don't realize that they're
Well, and
out
when these
there?
people are out of their head anyway on drugs or they're
Yeah,
drunk or whatever, they're not gonna, they're not gonna care at that point. They're
yeah,
out of their head. Uh,
that was just crazy.
Batman, are you talking about? You said was that on camera? Are you talking about Uncle Bill's thing? I don't think Uncle Bill's thing was on camera. I think, Uncle Bill just talked about that because it. it happened, like I said, several years ago, and it's a lucky thing that Uncle Bill didn't get hurt or nobody else in the house got hurt. Um, so yeah, I don't think it was on camera, but I bet Uncle Bill got him some cameras after that if
Yeah,
he didn't already have 'em.
definitely.
Um,
It's just crazy. Well, personal things I'm not gonna bring it up, but stuff that's happened to me that's just out of this world. Just so you know that anything's possible. Just crazy. You could
yeah,
just be outside enjoying your merry day, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, then
yeah.
some crazy just comes out. Out of the
It,
bushes or something.
I've had experiences, it's one of the things that makes me glad that I don't have to ride the bus. I don't
Yeah,
have to go downtown Louisville because it would get weird downtown
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
And I just got where it just made me uneasy, made me uncomfortable. And so I'm glad that sometimes I complain, but for the most part, I'm happy that I'm working from home now.
yeah. It makes it easier. But you just have to, no matter, even if you're at home, you have to be vigilant at all times, just to make sure that everything is okay, because anything can happen. But you can't sit and worry about that all the time. That's why cameras do come in handy, and motion detectors and all that good stuff. And it's a shame that you have to have that stuff, because what they do back in the 50s and stuff, 60s and stuff.
I
They just
don't
have.
know. It comes to me every once in a while. What did people do back before there were cell phones and even things like fax machines, which fax machines have kind of fallen by the wayside,
Yeah.
but still, what did they do before the internet and all of that?
Which I can remember times, the 90s. I didn't have the internet until like
Right.
2000 or something like that, and we didn't have cell phones.
Mm.
So, I can remember, I'm sure some people did have cell phones and internet and stuff like that in the
I think
90s, but I
mid to late 90s, I think we had internet
yeah,
finally.
we
It was
didn't have.
dial up though. It was
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dial-up, definitely. I didn't get it, it was like 2000. I think
Mm.
Chris had internet in the 90s, but I didn't. Like, cell phones, I don't ever remember having cell phones until the 2004, 5, something like that. We
I
were just
can't
late in the
remember
game,
when. Yeah, well, my family, we were always late behind everybody. Like, do you remember top loading VCRs, Candace?
Yeah, they'd come out like this, and you'd stick them down
Mm.
in it and push it,
We
yeah.
never had a top loading VCR, but my cousins did
Yeah,
because my uncle Jim was always a techie guy. So every new techie thing that came out, he would have to get it. But we didn't get a VCR until much, much later after they did, and we got a front loader. By the
yeah,
time we got one, we got a front loader, and I remember my dad, he was really getting it for everybody for
yeah.
Christmas, and so he went to Service Merchandise, he had my brother and I with him, and we were like, "Can we go in, Dad?" And he said, "No, y'all stay out here. I'm gonna get a Christmas gift for your mom." So we stayed out in the car. He went in service merchandise, come back out with a box and a bag. We couldn't see what it was. And we were like, "What'd you get, Mom, Dad?" "Well, we want it to be a surprise for Christmas." And so we didn't know any better. So we was like, "Okay." But when Mom opened that up on Christmas morning, we were like, "Woo, we finally got a VCR." It's like when first got our first Nintendo. We were behind everybody else when we got a Nintendo as well. But
Oh,
Dad
yeah.
always liked to wait until he could financially afford something. He didn't ever want to get something and have to put it on credit
Which
or
is
something
smart.
like. Yes, it's very smart. I didn't realize it then. I was like, "Oh, Dad,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about." But now I understand.
Scared me to death. It scared me to death coming in here. Could you at
Chris
least not?
Chris is gonna think,
Sorry, is all he said.
how long is Dana gonna keep her on here? Probably.
He's come to turn off the stove.
Oh,
Ah. You scared me to death coming in barging through. I was like, what? That door is loud that we have here on the in the kitchen.
I saw one of the dogs too. I
That
saw.
was Ghost. Come here. Jump. Come here. Come here. Ghost. Come here. Jump. Jump. Come here. He'd do it if I didn't want him to. Here,
Yeah.
Ghost. Ghost. Look. Jump. 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 Jump up here. There he is.
Oh, ain't he handsome? Reminds me of my Reg.
He's a big boy. He sure is. I leave him in there because he always wants me to pet on him and stuff. I can't
Reg,
believe Miko's not come in here wanting me to hold him.
Reg is so shy though. It's like he knows there's a camera on, and
Yeah.
he'll come and he'll get up here and he'll paw at, he'll put his paw up here. Like, come on, Reg, everybody wants to see you. And he'll peek it in there and then he'll want to get down. So, but
Ghost, he's a big boy, but I don't know. He was the dog that really tested me because I was always used to having dogs that didn't shed. And,
hmm
when I got him, he's half husky, half blue tick hound, so, the shedding was like and it still is the craziest that I've ever seen. What? What are you
well,
talking
basset hounds, I'll tell you, I got two basset hounds and they shed like crazy.
Okay, get down.
Hey, Ghost.
Ah, he loves loving. He's a big baby, though.
That's how Reg is. He's a big baby.
Big
Uh,
baby.
Now, Kathy, I wanted to comment. She says that she loves her bear, even though I haven't got the design on the shirt yet. She says, "Let me know when your pay link is
I've
live."
already showed him all. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, actually, Kathy, I when I get him all finished and get him ready to ship and stuff, I will send. I'll send you the
Here we
pay
go.
link. I can probably send it to you through Facebook. If you don't want me to do it through Facebook Messenger, you can let me know your email and I can send it to your email. And that way you can click on the link. It'll take you to a secure site so that you can put your payment information in.
He's got Miko riled up now. Come here. I'll show a little bit of you off. See, Miko.
Oh, hi, Nico.
I need a haircut.
Aren't you handsome too? Yeah, we don't
Oh,
want to forget about you.
he's clingy. I can't believe he's in there laying down this whole time because he's really clingy. Like I'm surprised I've been able to talk without him cooing down there
Well,
wanting me.
I'm surprised that my dogs haven't come to the gate between the kitchen and the living room to whine to want to come back here.
Me and Dana, we're in a competition with the zoo because we both we
I
keep on
saw
getting
what
animals.
I saw what Chris put about the frogs.
Oh my goodness.
He
I
said, "What did he
really
say? Somebody come get my wife."
yeah. Well, he let me have them, Dana. So I mean, what do I expect? If he's going to let me have them,
You
then
wasn't gonna say no.
and they're too cute. And he don't like frogs. He's scared of them, but he likes those.
You
He
think he would
likes.
ever pick them up?
He tried to, but they're really
Oh.
hoppy right now. So he said, "Well, I'll wait till they settle down, I guess." But um, really, I need to stop. I've got too many animals.
Well, Steve's kind of made me stop. He's like, Dana, you can't have any more. No more. You know. He didn't even really want me to get England, the
Yeah,
other guinea pig, but he settled back down over that. But
Chris wants your
yeah,
husband
I'd
on
let
there.
her have them,
He
sure.
did. He did. No, Dana, I told you that he said he's gonna
Yep,
let me
you
have. Now,
did.
didn't I? So you can back me up. You know that he said it.
Mhm.
But then he said, "Sure."
Yeah, that's just because he's on here. Like, he don't want to let anybody know he caved. And
But he likes them. You like them,
yeah,
Chris. You know you do.
yeah, I
I
think
didn't
he
think that he
did.
was, so that's surprising because he doesn't like frogs, but he likes those. They're too cute.
I think they're adorable. I was going to ask you, did you go back and get that third one,
No,
Candace?
he ain't gonna let me get no third one. I better be glad I got the ones I got.
I know though that you said that you hated to leave that third one
Yeah.
behind.
From oh, whatever,
Oh,
Chris.
Chris, come on.
From what I recall, you just showed up at the house with some frogs.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
Well, maybe I did, but
But
you had
he told
previously
you
said I
that
could have
yeah.
and Dana's the witness. I told her, I
Yes,
said, "Hey, Chris is
yes,
gonna let me have
ma'am.
some frogs." So,
You're outnumbered, Chris, you're outnumbered here.
well, maybe I did play the system a little bit. Maybe I did. It wasn't
Yeah,
time
but
to
we
get
all
them.
play the system. I played the system multiple times
But you don't tell me I can have something,
and then withdraw.
then when I get them, they're like, okay." But he didn't protest too much, Dana, so I can.
I think he's just like I said, he's in there in the chat with at least 6 other people. He's gonna, like, say something about it.
Oh,
Well, thank you, Kathy. I really enjoyed having Candace on the stream with me as well, and
I'd love to do it again.
I'd love to have you on here again anytime you wanna come on. Anytime, like I said, I put up a stream or advertise a stream and you think, gee, I'd like to get on there and talk about that, if it's a particular movie or whatever.
Well, me and Chris would definitely like to do the
Mhm.
multiplicity one if you whenever that comes along, and I think I had requested for you to do the Video Dead and the Cemetery Man. That's why you
Yeah,
put those on your thing, so I would
yeah.
definitely wanna do those, too, because as
With
I recall, you don't.
multiplicity we've got coming up April 7th,
Okay.
which I believe that's a Sunday. Because usually the comedy type of stuff I'll do on a Sunday. But we do have, in addition to Silence of the Lambs and Grace of My Heart coming up this coming weekend, I've got Stir of Echoes coming
Yeah.
up March 30th.
Mhm.
And March 30 is March 31st. That's Easter. I might not have too many people that night, but I'm doing Night Riders, the George
Mm.
Romero movie that
Yeah.
night. Um, and then Saturday before I do Multiplicity is Magic with Anthony
Yeah. And
Hopkins.
Chris really likes that film.
I'm going to be doing Blood Diner on April 13th. I got to ask Uncle Bill if he wants to come on for that because, plus anybody else that wants to come on.
I hadn't
Uh,
thought about Blood Diner in so many years until you had mentioned that previously. I
Blood
said,
Diner was one of those movies that I remember seeing the VHS box in
"Mhm."
the video rental stores, but I don't know why I never rented it. But then when Uncle Bill especially was talking about it over and over again, I was like, I gotta watch that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Chris has one sheet of it. I can't remember if he does or not. Believe he does or did.
Hmm.
People who collect posters and stuff.
Chris said she touched my peppy Steve. I'm gonna I'm gonna go up to my Steve sometime and say she touched my peppy Steve and see what he said. He's probably gonna look at me like, what in the hell's wrong with you?
That's just one of the greatest Michael Keaton films ever. It's just my favorite's night well, besides Beetlejuice is Night Shift. I absolutely love, Night Shift.
I love Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom is one of my favorites, yeah.
Like if there's one movie that kind of showcases how men probably felt at that time about their wives going to
Yeah,
work, because believe it or not, there was a time where men didn't want their women going to
yeah,
work,
yeah,
and that was the time period that early '80s
yeah.
period, um, and
It was taboo kinda,
Yeah, and in the case of Michael Keaton's character on Mr. Mom, he has lost his job, so
Yeah,
it's a double whammy. He's lost his job, his wife goes out there, and he's thinking, she ain't nobody's gonna hire her," and she gets a job first time out. So,
yeah,
he had to have been feeling at his lowest, like,
yeah.
I lost my job. Here's my wife, and she's got a high profile advertising job. Um,
Yeah, my dad absolutely loved that scene where he's talking about the little kid's whoopee, talking about next thing you know, you're gonna be trying to score electric blankets. You know what I'm talking
yeah.
about? That's so funny. He loved that movie. That's just one of our movies that we'd watch together and stuff like that. When I think of those films, I think of good times I had with my dad. So,
Mhm. Blissful says, Dana, if I, she's talking about if I go up and to my Steve and say, "She touched my peppy, Steve." She says I need to record it. I'll try to remember to record it.
Steve would be like, "Are you all right, Dana?"
Yeah, he's probably, "Is your blood sugar low? What are you doing here?" Batman says, "I remember CK nearly shit his pants when somebody dropped $500 when they talked about Blood Diner." Oh yeah, I would love to ask CK if they actually got that money, because sometimes people will. It's happened to me. People will give me like a 14.99 super thanks super chat, and the next thing you know, it's gone. And Steve told me that people can take it back. They
Oh
can
my goodness.
reverse the charges, kind of deal. So if I guess if somebody's drunk, let's say, I'm not saying that person was drunk, but if somebody was drunk and they accidentally did that, and the next day they was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" They can say reverse the charges. So I'm just wondering if the Dead Pit guys ever got that $500.
I
Is
like
that
that part.
what?
Do you remember that movie they're talking about in Dream Team, Dana?
Oh
Wolf.
yes, Dream Team.
Talk about those wolves that's out
You
there.
ever see that movie? Well, speaking of multiplicity, when they're gonna clone him, and he's like, I'm not gonna." Did you ever see that movie, The Fly, and Jeff Goldblum's going around like this? Michael Keaton's just great in that. Um, but I just Michael Keaton is one of those actors
It's my
that I
favorite.
love him in
Yeah.
anything. Now, I don't know if you've seen a movie that he was in called My Life.
Wow. I don't Is it a serious
It's
film?
a serious movie, and Michael Keaton plays a man who has cancer, and the
Mm.
cancer becomes terminal.
Yeah. No, I've never seen that one.
It's a
No, I know
very
what you're
good
talking about.
movie, but be in a really good mood when you watch it,
Yeah.
because he finds out, at some point in the movie, I'm not giving anything away,
Yeah.
um, that he doesn't have much time left,
Yeah.
and his wife is pregnant, and he's filming his life so that she can show the baby
Mm.
after he's gone. It's a really, really good movie, and it gives Michael Keaton. It shows that he's got great range,
Yeah.
because this is a very serious movie. Deals with a very
Yeah.
serious topic of discussion, and but it is just like, I cried like a baby at certain parts of it. I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
but it's still a very good movie.
He's amazing. I just love him. To me, he's my favorite. I don't know if it's just where I grew up loving Beetlejuice so much. Just everything that he's in that I've watched, I just love.
Mm.
Um, just like I said, like Night Shift's my favorite besides Beetlejuice. It's probably my second favorite film that he's in. There's just a part, and it's so stupid. And other people might watch it and was like, "What's so funny about that?" But I think and Chris, if he's watching this still, he knows what I'm getting ready to say. He
Mm.
just It's part where Henry Winkler's always used to people pushing over on him, and he lets people get by with everything. And they go to
He's
this
not the
diner.
Fonz. He's not the
Yeah,
Fonz on there.
and he goes there and he's getting a sandwich, and he always likes wheat bread. And they're walking out of the diner, and he looks down in it and he says, "Oh, they gave me white bread again." And Michael Keaton just turns around in his real weird voice, "Hey, you gave him white bread." To me, that line is hilarious. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
simple line, but the way he delivers it and the way he just talks is hilarious. And I'm like, he's just a hilarious actor. And
Mm.
I think that's just what makes his comedy so good. But you're right, I've seen him play serious roles, and just anything that he's in, he has a really wide range
What was
as an
that
actor.
movie where he played pretty much a crazy guy in it?
That's one that my mom talked about not long ago. I can't remember what it's called, but I remember her talking about that one. Is it where he's a bad guy? He's mean, and the
Mhm.
police is after him or whatever like that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody probably remembers in the chat. Chris says she gave him white bread.
Gave him white bread. just something about that scene, and my favorite part in that whole movie is whenever, he's just giving all these ideas to Bill. I think that's Henry Winkler's name is Bill, or it might be Michael Keaton's name. I can't remember, but anyway, he's giving all these ideas, those crazy ideas to Henry Winkler's character, and he's got a little um, recorder, and he's like
Uh-huh.
putting all these like feed mayonnaise to tuna fish so that whenever the tuna fish are turned into tuna fish,
Uh-huh.
to eat, the mayonnaise is already in there and like edible paper, and just Henry Winkler just gets tired of hearing it all. He's like feeding mayonnaise to fish, edible paper. He said, it just goes off on him. And next thing finds him laying like in one of these morgue, tables, and he pulls him out, keeps on
Mhm.
listening to that all that bad stuff that he recorded Henry Winkler saying to him, and I just thought that was so funny.
Russell, you are right. Jeff Goldblum, as much as I love Jeff Goldblum, he's one of my favorite actors too.
Mine too.
Yeah, he was in Death's Wish as one of the punks that actually rape and killed. Well, they rape Charles Bronson's daughter in it and end up killing
Yeah,
his wife. And yeah, that's one of Jeff Goldblum's most vicious roles I've
yeah.
ever seen him in.
It's like Del Midkiff. I love Del Midkiff, from Pet Cemetery, but that role that he plays, my mom, if you start her on that, oh, because she
Are you,
loves Del Midkiff.
are you talking about like the Tracy Thurman scene?
Yes.
I
If
seen
you
that,
get
and I love Dale Midkiff too, but I'm like, oh my god.
if you get her started on that, she's like, I love, 'cause she loves Del Midkiff.
Mhm.
And you get her started on that, and she's like, I absolutely hate it. It makes you hate him. 'Cause it just makes you so mad. It shows him, like, up close, like, kicking her head in and all that stuff.
Yeah, and jumping on top of
It's
her.
all and then people just standing around looking at him like, just letting him do it. I mean, like,
Uh-huh.
and it's
The
just so
cops
infuriating.
included, and
It's
you know that
true.
that really happened, yeah.
Yeah, it's true, and I'm like
It
and, I met him, and he's just so sweet and so,
yeah,
you know
I saw Dale Midkiff talk on that Unearthed and Untold, The Path to
Mhm.
Pet Cemetery, and he's just the nicest man ever.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's like, well, you're a great actor, Dale Midkiff, because you know, but there's that one scene in the Tracy Thurman
Yeah.
story where the cops are dragging, this is before the really bad
Brutal,
part
yeah.
happens, and the cops are dragging him away, and he says, "I'm gonna get you."
Yes, I
And I'm
hate
like,
that.
"Oh god," it's just
I mean, the movie isn't like some big like a high production film or nothing like that. Is it a made for TV?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, it's not like some big high production film, but it makes you absolutely just hate which the person in real life, you would anyway, but he really
mhm,
makes you hate that character.
yes.
Because, I mean, it just the way he does his eyes and just the way he does just the camera, how it just makes you wanna just punch him.
And you just it's scary to think that there are real people
Yes.
like that,
He
that would
brings up the
do those
sadistic,
things.
yeah, and he
Mhm.
just looks sadistic in that film, and it's just, uh, you know and then you go to Pet Sematary and you just see his character, how he is, and it's
Yeah.
just total opposite of what it is, and in real life, he's like he's real soft spoken, he's kinda like Elvis in a way, and I
Yeah.
remember when we met him, Chris embarrassed me and went up to him and looked at him and said, "Well, what I need to say to you first is, you're the only man I think that my wife would leave me for." And he looked at me and he started blushing, and he played into that, Dana. He, like,
Mhm.
put his arm around me and was, like, saying stuff, and I was, like, just like I was like, "Chris, I'm gonna kill you."
I could see
So nice.
Steve doing that to me if,
Oh, I loved
like,
it.
if we met Matthew McConaughey or something
Oh,
somehow,
yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
I'm in love with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna lie.
I like him too, Dana.
And Matthew McConaughey's one of these people that I believe he's a really good guy
Yeah,
too.
he seems to be. He really does. Me and my mom talk so weird, me and my mom's talking about that too, because she likes Matthew McConaughey as well. But he just seems like he's just, like, so, like, down to earth and kinda, you
And
know
people try to tell me, they say, Dana, he doesn't use deodorant. He probably stinks and he likes to play the bongos naked
Yeah,
or whatever. I said, I don't care. The
we
man
don't
is
care about that.
hot. I mean, and he's sweet, and that
Yeah.
drawl he's got,
Mhm.
that Texas drawl.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what give me, the monkeys, going back to them. I always loved Michael Nesmith, because he had
Mhm,
that southern drawl,
yeah.
Texas, and he was always my favorite. So I know the feeling. I like that too. Even though we're from the South, it's different. You know what I mean? It's
It is.
that
There's a
Texas.
difference between a Kentucky drawl
Yeah,
and a
definitely.
Texas drawl.
But
There's a
me and
difference.
you are from totally different parts of the state. We
Mhm,
talk different. We have
yeah,
similarities, but my dialect is different than yours. You
mhm.
say stuff a little bit different than me. Just people in our own state talk different. I'm sure that's how every state goes, but I know Southern accent, you can really, really you can
And
you can tell
I know I'm a traitor to my state or whatever, but I hate hearing I'm not conceited or anything, guys and gals, but I go back and watch certain videos sometimes just to see if I need to improve on certain
Mhm.
things, or
Yeah,
maybe I need to leave that out. Maybe I need to work on this. I'm always thinking of ways I can improve my channel. And sometimes I just like the watch alongs. There have been certain watch alongs that I can go to sleep by because it's so relaxing.
yeah.
Ones that me and Aaron have been on together. Uh, I don't know. There's something about that dynamic that just. It's not that we're boring or that Aaron's boring and I go to
Mhm,
sleep watching. It's just the friendship that we have because he and I have been friends for a long time. Me and Wes have been friends for a long time. Me and Candace have been friends for a long time. It's just that same dynamic. I could go back and watch this one, and it would be relaxing to me because it's like going over and visiting a friend,
yeah.
but we can't go to each other's house because we live too far away. It'd be like, what would it be, 3.5 hours or
Around
something?
3 hours. Yeah, it's about 3 hours.
Uh, so
I mean,
we can't
I've
just
been to
come
your
over.
house, but
Yeah, you have. Actually, Candace and Chris have
Mhm.
been to me and Steve's
Yeah,
house.
Dana's been a lifesaver at your house whenever Chris had a seizure.
Yeah, that was something, we all knew that
Yeah.
Chris has epilepsy, but you never really think about something
No, you
like that
don't. You
happening.
don't. No.
Um,
And it really, honestly, if it wasn't for you, I don't know what I'd have done. I really don't. Dana really stepped in that moment, and really, really just took charge of calling the
well, I
ambulance.
was like, "We gotta do something. I've gotta call 911. We gotta get somebody here," because I took one look at Chris and I was like, "Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
he
an
was in the grand
emergency
mal. Yeah.
situation." I had never seen anything like that before.
Mhm.
And it was frightening, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. I was scared, Candace was scared, Chris was out of it, so he didn't
Yeah.
I mean, I think later he probably, felt like I have felt when I come out of
Yeah.
low blood sugar spells, a
Mhm.
bad low blood sugar spell, and you're kinda embarrassed, and you're like, "What did I do when I was like this?" Because I was out of it completely. That happened to me whenever Steve saw me have my first really bad low blood
Mhm.
sugar a few years into our marriage, and he didn't know what was going on. He thought I was drunk and a lot of other things, and
Yeah.
then I just blacked out, and the next thing I know, my neighbor Kim is behind me, propping me up. There were paramedics on either side of me. And excuse my language, guys, but in my mind, I was thinking, oh shit, what did I do? I went out of it, low blood sugar. And they had been giving me, that that pure
Yeah.
glucose stuff. And I come to and I looked over here, there was a paramedic there. I looked over here, there was a paramedic.
Sorry about that, Dana.
Oh, that's okay, I just
Let me
wanted to
let
make
him out.
sure.
Let me
Okay.
let him.
But, uh, yeah, that was a very, scary situation that happened, and, the funny
Sorry.
thing was my neighbor Kim told me, she said, "You missed the hot, fireman." because when you call the ambulance, the fighters come too, and they just make sure that everything's okay and stuff like that, and then they leave the paramedics to whatever they need to do. I believe the fireman came when Chris had his seizure. Uh,
Yeah, probably.
but I really remember the paramedics being there that time. I remember when I had my episode and they were there, and I was like, "Dang, I missed the hot firemen." Because Kim was like, "Yeah, Dana, they were hot. They were some hot firemen." I guess that she was thinking they were, maybe these aren't firemen. Maybe they're strippers are going to start taking their clothes. I guess they were that hot. But that was a funny thing that I laughed later about. But
Yeah,
Steve, that what that did, I'm not saying God calls that. I'm just
yeah,
saying sometimes God knows that people in your life need to know that you could be in the middle of a medical
yeah,
emergency.
yeah,
And I think it took me going completely out of it for Steve to see this diabetes is serious business.
oh, yeah, definitely.
The insulin she takes to remain alive
Yeah,
can sometimes backfire on her,
mhm,
you know. And
definitely.
I think, maybe God said, "Hey, Steve, you don't know too much about this. Let me give you a little taste of it. Just don't put Dana in a real dangerous position, but we're going to show you what this is like." And from then on out, Steve's like, make sure you got some candy in the house, Dana, make or juice or some kind of quick sugar in the house. I think it really opened his eyes
Yeah.
to that.
It's nothing to play around with, anything. My mom has, diabetes as well, and my dad did, and it's just nothing to play around with, you know. And sometimes whenever your sugar is high and you take, medicine to lower it, it can get too low. It's a
Yes, and it can
constant
drop
thing.
really fast.
Mhm. Yeah.
It could be 2 or 300. You take insulin, and in 45 minutes, and I kid you not, in 45 minutes, it could be in the 30s.
Yeah, definitely. I know that. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen
Mhm.
it happen more than once. So yeah, I know that that happens. You just
So
have
if
to keep an eye.
if you have anybody in your family that has diabetes and you really don't, this is public service announcement from Dana, and you don't know that much about it, I beg of you, find out more about this disease because it's
Yeah.
very important. If you were left alone with this person, would you know what to do if they could not take care of themselves?
Yeah, there's been plenty of people who has went into a diabetic, attack while they've been driving, and
Yes.
the law has pulled them over and thought they were drunk, and you know, I mean, this is a life or death situation, and I seen something one time where they just let somebody pass away because they
Mhm.
thought they were drunk and didn't believe them, and that's so sad, you know. And that's really where medical alert bracelets and stuff like that. I know they look strange and stuff. They're not fashionable, but that's where they come in handy, to have something like that. If you're out alone somewhere, just to say, hey, listen, if I'm not drunk, I'm having an attack.
Mhm.
So
And that's where I am lacking. I don't like to wear the medical alert type of
yeah,
stuff. And my mom has told me over and over the years, saying you really need to. You can tuck it in your shirt,
yeah,
and that's where I fall short.
yeah,
Because I really should do that because that is
yeah,
one thing that even if you were in an accident,
hmm,
you would have that on your person.
yeah,
These medical people are trained
yeah,
to look for things like this, not only for diabetes or epilepsy, but
hmm,
allergies. People have extreme allergies to certain
yeah.
shots and things like
Mhm.
that, like penicillin. You wouldn't want.
Me, I
My
do.
mom's allergic to penicillin. You
I
don't
am.
want to
Yeah.
give her that.
Oh,
Mhm.
I am, and it's not fun. And like how we found out, Chris recently last year was highly allergic to waspers and bees and stuff.
Yes, that was a
That was
horrible
that was
story.
a life or death situation with him, and it's the closest I ever had come to losing him.
Mhm,
Had a wasp sting him twice behind the ear, and we thought it was all right, and then all of a sudden he was, it was
mhm,
serious. So it took me like 5 seconds to. Thankfully, we're not far away from the emergency room, but even in the emergency room, I was getting really scared. So,
mhm.
I just thank God that he was all right. But now we know to take the EpiPen,
Yes,
around with
exactly.
him, and it's just so many things that could, you know, everybody's got something that they have to deal with in life. Some people are lucky and don't have, medical problems and stuff like that.
Mhm,
But if you do and you have somebody you love, it's always a good rule of thumb to try to learn about what they're dealing with just in case something happens, and
mhm.
you could be their life saving, you could be a lifesaver one day.
I worry about Steve constantly since we found out he has severe sleep apnea,
That's
and
yeah.
he uses the CPAP machine,
Hmm.
but, whenever he first found out he had it, they told him how many times in a night he quit breathing.
Yeah.
It was up in the hundreds, Candace,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Steve, oh my gosh." I
Yeah.
was like, "You make sure you wear that mask every night for
Mhm.
however long you're supposed to wear that thing."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm on him all the time. He probably gets tired of me doing this, but I was like, do you want to go to sleep and quit breathing and not start back up breathing?"
Mhm.
I said, "I get mad at you sometimes, Steve, but I have never stopped loving you, and I
Yeah.
don't want to lose my husband."
No, no, no. It's just, it's, because I had sleep apnea. I still have sleep apnea, but I don't use my machine like I should. But, um, maybe that's something that I should take more seriously
Well, I think
because,
there's something that all of us need to take seriously.
yeah,
There's something in everybody's life that
yeah,
they're probably not taking as seriously as they
yeah.
should.
Well,
Uh,
I think that we've had an array of different conversations tonight,
we
Dana.
we have, and I hate to go, but there may be some people that's wanting to hop on over to Uncle Bill's thing he's
Yeah,
doing, and I try. I can't always anticipate or know what the Dead Pit Boys or anybody else is
yeah.
doing at any given time, but I do try to be respectful of the things I do know about. So, I know Russell he was going to watch a Leprechaun watch along, but I think Russell's back again. Bless his heart. Russell is the man. He's like, he'll be on multiple streams at one time. But I do want to, to tie this all up with a nice, neat little bow. I do want to thank Candace for being
Mm.
on here.
Thank you for bringing me on here.
This was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the conversation
me
before
too.
and after and during
Mhm.
the movie. Um, Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says amazing live, Dana and Candace. Uh,
Thank you.
Blissful, you're coming on here with me, right? At some point. Come on. Candace came on here. And she was on here we've been on here almost three, or no, we've been on here over 3 hours.
Over 3 hours, almost
Over
3
three
hours.
hours. Yeah.
Can't believe that. Uh,
Thank you, Batman. Batman says, awesome live.
Thank
Blissful got
you.
the scared emoji. It's not bad. It's painless, isn't it, Candace?
Well, at first, I was kinda like, "Well," but I had to get over my fear long ago. I started posting videos of myself on my own personal Facebook to try to get over that fear, because I said, I don't wanna be held back all my life, from
Right.
stuff, but it still at first is kinda, woof, but once you get over that little hurdle, everything's all
I do
Dana's kinda breaking me in. Dana's been taking me under her wing and graciously been showing me the ropes with how to do this stuff, and, taking time out of her day that she didn't have to do, because, it's something that, I would like to do one day.
Mhm.
So she's just
Yeah,
been
and
kind
I've
of being
been,
my teacher.
me and Candace had a little training session about a
Yeah.
week ago, and we just got on. we tried Teams. That didn't work out too well. So we got on StreamYard and had our own
Yep.
little private
Yep.
training session,
Yep.
um, which I would be willing to do for most anybody, especially my friends, to do it. Yeah, Batman, we need to bust Blissful's cherry also. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we
Dana,
definitely do.
she's been a excellent teacher because I got something planned with me and my brother, kind of a resurgence of sorts, and I've never done YouTube like that. So once that gets in the process of being able to let everybody know what it is, I'll come back on here and debut it on Dana's channel if she don't care.
Yeah, I don't mind. I
Uh,
gotta read Kathy's comment on here. She saw Matthew McConaughey walking down the street in front of her on a sidewalk in Austin. I said hello quietly. He turned around and smiled and said, I heard that, pretty lady. In Austin, we see lots of stars
oh
all.
my goodness.
I would have just melted to the sidewalk.
Dana,
You
they
would
would
have
have
had to
have to.
peel me off the sidewalk. Yeah, Bliss says she would have melted too.
Like in that Little Rascals movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, the one from the '90s that Darla says is melting like a popsicle on the 4th of July. That'd be Dana. She'd
That
just
would
be melted,
And Steve would
melted
be
down.
like, "Come on, Dana, you're embarrassing me. Come on." I'd be like, "Oh, he talked to me."
I
I
kinda
w
felt that way whenever Bruce Campbell did to me. I was,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah,
I was
I was
always a little.
pretty much swooning too when he was talking to me that
You was in front of us,
mm.
and he was, like, swooning to Dana too. He was, playing in on the character, wasn't he,
Yeah,
Dana?
he was.
Ah,
Oh, man.
but
Okay.
I've had
Well,
fun, though.
I have too, but I wanna thank everybody for being in the chat tonight. We still got 7 people in here. You guys go ahead and take a look at what Uncle Bill is talking about and get some sleep because a lot of us have work in the morning. If you don't have work outside the home, I'm sure you got work inside the home. So everybody's probably going to be working tomorrow.
I'm getting ready to go have my St. Patrick's Day dinner with,
That's
my
kind of
corned
late.
beef and
I
cabbage.
may plan it's late for us. Okay.
Oh, that's all right. Honey, you know how long we stay up, so it's okay. I just be even better whenever you're hungry. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I'm probably gonna, I got some dishes to clean up from the movie Munchies earlier today, and
oh, and I forgot to mention that, Dana. I watched it. I didn't get to watch it live, but I went back and watched it before I got on here, and that looks so good.
it tasted good too. But I
Mhm.
told everybody now, if you don't have perfect teeth, be really careful with that edible sugar glass.
Oh, what was it?
Suck on it like a lollipop. Don't bite
Yeah.
into it because it's very, very hard.
I bet that stuff would hurt you too if you fell on it or something.
Yeah, and Steve made a joke. He said, "You being diabetic and all, and that has a little sugar in the corn syrup part." He said, "If you fell on that, that hurt your diabetes." With I said, "Steve, you think you're funny,
Oh,
don't you?" Um, but yeah, the sugar glass, I would be careful with it because I
yeah.
think it could still poke you or cut you, even
Yeah.
though it's not real glass. But that dang stuff tastes like cotton candy, kinda.
Really? Did you put a certain flavor in it? I can't
I
remember if you did or
I
not.
did not, but the corn syrup that I used
Yeah.
has vanilla in it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't
So,
know if that's what did it, but I was like, "Dang, this stuff tastes like cotton candy."
well, it
Um,
looked good. It looked really good. And I'm not a big cake person, but I would eat that, especially that buttercream.
that buttercream frosting and the edible sugar
Mhm.
glass, yeah. Yeah, it's making me hungry thinking about it. It's right
Well,
there.
you got it. You can go eat it. You
Yeah,
have it there.
and I think I emotionally raped Jay. That's the way he put
You just tantalize us all. You have it there at your house, so you can go eat it at your disposable. We had
I
to
know, and Steve
drool over it.
does too, and he wouldn't eat any tonight. I don't know what's wrong with the man. But anyway, I'm going to tie this up. But you guys have a great night and a wonderful Monday as
Mhm.
much as you can because I know it's the start of the work week and all that. Start of the work week for me too. But I will return Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to talk about some Stephen King film adaptations. And then all you Robert England fans, tune in. I'm going to be talking about Be the Final Battle, and I'm also going to be talking about the very first Nightmare on Elm Street on Tuesday. So
Getting into the
get
Nightmare on
it.
Elm Street stuff. People's gonna
Yeah.
really like that now.
Anybody wants to come on with me, Candace included, I'm going to ask Uncle Bill if he wants to come on when I'm talking about Nightmare on Elm Street because he told me, I'll come on when you start talking about stuff that I know about. Okay, I'll ask you then. But
Everybody give that thumbs up too. I'll take
yes,
on
please.
Jay's
Yeah.
Jay's role there.
And as Jay says, buy some damn shirts.
Mhm.
And, if you can financially, and, like, if you like the content I'm putting out, like, share,
Yeah.
uh, subscribe. And if you have the financial ways and means and want to throw me a few bucks, even $2 or whatever, or you can join the channel for the low price of $5. I'm starting to sound like CK, ain't I? But
You
but
gotta
you
let people know.
you can join the channel for $5 and get some perks. You've seen me do reviews for Darren. Darren has joined my channel at the $5 level, the seller deadite uh, level. And Russell, if Russell's still in here, Russell's took a step up and he's at the $10 level. He's at the Henrietta deadite level.
Ooh.
So thank you to everybody that has contributed. All the money I'm planning on going right back into the channel, whether it's, buying new equipment like microphones or cameras or whatever. And also, don't forget, I'm going to promote Jay here. Somebody buy that damn shovel from Jay that's signed by Megan McGuffey, who was in his film Crystal, which go watch that film too. Watch Crystal. It's a great little short
Where
film.
do you watch these films at, Dana? I've been
Uh,
meaning to ask you that,
I
just for people
think
who don't know.
I think Jay has got Crystal on his YouTube channel. I think if you
Okay.
just look up Jay Reel,
Mhm.
you should be able to find him
Okay.
and watch it there. Uh, but we're going to get out of here for the night, and we'll see everybody next time. So good night, everybody. Good
Good
night,
night.
Candace.
Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day, gang.